good.
Let's go! Let's get rolling here.
All right. I'd like to welcome all of you to our second episode of the Real Euro FBall TALK. I'm Coach Mele, alongside my co-host and actually my boss, head coach Sebastian Fandert from the Robbinsburg Razorbacks. I mean, I have to throw that in there. It's a fact at the end of the day. But we'd like to welcome you. One quick deal is, if anybody at any point has some sort of feedback for us or any ideas, just hit that comment link on our previous episodes or this current episode, because this not only, like we talked about, is about football, it's also talking about other aspects. We want to kind of branch out and see where this goes, so we're open to feedback. That's our biggest thing. Some people may not agree with what we talk about. At the end of the day, what do we know? It's like social media and shows, like you don't have to agree with everybody, right? Without further ado, I have somebody here who I hold very dearly, and I think for most of all, everybody in Europe knows Coach Frank Rosa. He holds a very extensive coaching resume, also as a player, big time. I mean, we could compare you to what, Tom Brady, probably, something like that. You're the German Tom Brady.
Yeah, German Tom Brady, Michael Vick mix. That's what I would refer myself to.
High expectations.
Was this 15 years ago or like yesterday?
No, kind of like I still had it at scout team based, so, but yeah, it has been a while and there's not a lot of tape of my things. So the VHS times, so.
No, but I mean, kind of going back a little bit between me and you, it's like, I know you back when I started my coaching career in 2014 at the Beide Schallspot, so with the Beide Schallspot. And at the end of the day, I mean, for me, and I talk about it, and people know that for me, you're essentially a sort of a mentor to me. You are a very close friend. You are like a brother to me. It's like, we have the same mom and dad. But also, like, you kind of served and kind of paved the way. You're one of the few coaches that showed me, yes, we do coach in Europe or in Germany, but we still take this seriously because of what we're trying to achieve. This is our career, and we want to make it something not only for ourselves, but ultimately the players that we coach, because at the end of the day, for us as coaches, and I believe we share the same mindset, is we are teachers at the end of the day. We serve as dads sometimes, role models, and we're here to change lives. But I first kind of want to go about, essentially, you've had a journey, a coaching journey, and I kind of want to go about that, how that came to be from your side.
Yeah, before I tell you that, I just remember that moment in 2014. I had an early quarterback meeting. I think it was 6:10 or 6:15 a.m. Everybody of my QBs was pumped to have that. I walked down the stairs in training camp, and there's this Mele guy sitting waiting for his DBs to have an early bird meeting as well. So that was the moment where I knew you for real. So that's why I just can say the same words back, man. Really appreciate all you do, all the effort that you put in for all this millions of dollars that we make out here in Europe.
I'm bankrolling. You see my Lambo outside.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Yeah, your office looks pretty nice. So
that's actually the highlight. That's all his idea, though.
Oh, good job, Coach Sebastian. So yeah,
You're a professional.
Yeah, exactly. Like my office here. Yeah, so appreciate you guys for having me. First of all, I think it's really cool that you guys do this, and yeah, my journey. Coaching wise, I started in 2004 as the quarterback coach for the Bavarian Warriors. Back then, I was still a player. I just came out of the Bavarian Warriors junior team, so I was 20 years young, and had the chance to start there as the quarterback coach, which was a crazy transition since I knew half of the team still from my years playing in the Auswahl team. So that was kind of crazy, but I instantly loved it. And exactly as you said, coaching is teaching. It's not about us. It's, of course, we love what we do, but you try to help somebody else get better. And sure, back then I still wanted to play and want to become the best I can be. I dreamed of playing in the NFL Europe and in the NFL. But yeah, that mix between Tom Brady and Michael Vick was more in my head. So I could not really bring it to the field. So I have to say that too. But that was my starting point.
And how was your how you start as a player, how you get in touch with American football. But I mean, right now, kids have it easy. NFL is everywhere. I remember when I started playing football, there was one game a year was like the Super Bowl on the RLA, and that's it.
Yeah.
And when you say I play cornerback American football, what I did, I say, yeah, but I don't watch ice hockey. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not what you, how you get in touch with American football.
Yeah, also you have a weird commentator, right? Like Boris Becker. Nothing against Boris Becker here, but yeah, when he commented the Super Bowl, I was like, great.
Yeah, same.
That happened in 1997 when Joseph Joyner, who is now currently the wide receiver coach from the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns, shout out to my bro over there. He came into my class in Königsbrunn at the Hauptschule.
Cool.
So, and we became like brothers, and through his dad, who was coaching in Königsbrunn at the time, or started to coach, I believe, I joined a practice with 13 years of age, but I was scared as shit. So it took me 2 more years until I finally really showed up at practice again, and then with Joe again, and then I found out, hey, I'm older, stronger, I'm actually pretty good, well, decent good. And I had, for the first time, really fun in doing something that is so, I don't know how to say that, strange in this German world. So, yeah.
And you always quarterback? You start straight with being a quarterback, or how that comes?
In fact, Joe was the quarterback then because he really could throw damn good. And I started as a receiver and inside linebacker. But that inside linebacker position was due only for the first quarter of my first game because I did not quite understand tackling. So instead of tackling somebody, I tried to push him out of bounds, but he stayed in bounds and scored a touchdown run. And yeah,
That's not bad. Not bad.
got subbed. Yeah, it was pretty bad. So, and then when Joe later on in that same year moved back to the States with his dad, well, I was the only guy who could throw a decent spiral, and then, yeah, I became the quarterback. That was my journey.
Awesome. And how that goes on, where you play as a quarterback, how that goes on?
Yeah, so, well, first I didn't want to do it, but then of course I did it. And then a year later, I made it into the Bavarian Warriors all-star team in 2000 as the 4th backup quarterback and the starting holder. So,
not bad.
but back then it was like an 8 or 9 day camp with full tackling. Of course, nobody gave a damn about the 4th string quarterback, so I was live. But for the first time, I really had so much fun. Like I learned about the true value of like teammate supporting, trust, confidence. And I was in dreamland, like for 1 week, just football for the first time. So this is where my real passion came out.
Who was the coach back then when you were there?
That was Pete Mangos.
I don't know that.
But Coach Daniel Koch, was there as well as I think the linebacker assistant. And then a year later, Florian Bernberg took over the program, and he really helped me to grow mentally strong and find confidence, because I did not have a lot of confidence back then. I was kind of like just a Tom Brady, Michael Vick skilled guy, but I could not,
That's true. No, I remember him. My first year coaching was 2014 with the U19, or with the U19, sorry. Where he was the guy breathing over my shoulder to try to make sure I was doing everything right. I remember. That's when Coach Reiner brought me in as the DB coach, and he was still there when he was kind of helping, but not like 100%. And he was always like, I felt like he was always like how do you say it? Like the shadow.
Shadow, yeah.
Following all the time, like it to be honest, it stressed me out more. And I'm trying to improve if I knew my stuff or stuff like that. But I still remember him like just sitting. I'm like, why is he always next? You know.
So wherever you go, he just followed you. Like you show up in the bathroom, he's right there. And then,
because that's the thing, right? When we first met, it was like 2014, my first year coaching. You know, I come in and I have all these big dogs. You know.
Yeah.
You, Eugen, who
just came from the championship year, 2013, where we won for the first time.
Coming in, they're like, "Oh, we got rings." You know, Ringer sitting in his room with that little whip action app, and Cookie's looking at us. Can you guys be serious? And I'm sitting
What exactly happened in the defense meeting, man? I was a serious offense guy. We did not do. Oh, oh, okay, shit.
And what was it? And then who else was there? Albert was there. Smokey was there. So I'm kind of sitting
Yes.
there, literally fresh meat, and I'm kind of around these guys, and I'm like, what is happening in here?
Welcome to the reality of serious meetings.
With like his daily naps, he'd always get butt naked in front of everybody, and then get in his bed and take like 15-minute naps, and I'm sitting there like,
Are we sure you're recording everything?
It's fine. This is
I might really do have some videos, but I'm not sure if they should make it public or not. So yeah, let's just leave it like that.
We'll somehow get in trouble for that one. No. But like, because how did you make your way to, like, for example, because I know, was it in Königsbrunn, and then you were also playing in Swarkel, for example? Like,
so I started with the Ants, and in 2002 I made the switch to a youth team in Munich, the NFA Munich Monarchs, which are now the Feldkirchen Lions, basically. So I played there for a year, got back to Königsbrunn, and then after that I went to Stuttgart to the Munich Cowboys, played there for a year. I studied abroad in Spain for a semester. I studied very hard, and I played for the Valencia Firebats. And then when I came back, I had the chance to be the third backup for the Raiders. And I started as a camp arm because Carl Callahan back then, who was the starting QB, had to go back home family-wise. So I was a camp arm with Adrian Platzgummer. And then, yeah, I had some good throws, some very terrible throws. And yeah, but I made it as a backup guy. So that was a really cool experience.
Who was coaching there at that time?
That was Schuan Fatah and Lee Rowland. Yeah.
Okay.
Great times. Yeah. Great times.
How was that transition going from, let's say, the Ants to Stuttgart to Munich to Swarkel? Because, I mean, what years were this again?
Stuttgart was 2007. Then I had a back injury, so I joined the Cowboys in 2009. 2010 was Spain. 2011, I didn't play at all. I thought I'm done. And then 2012, I had my last official season as a player.
How was it going to those programs, and ultimately, because that was basically at the time when Schuan Fatah was building that. I mean, I'm gonna say, like, it was a powerhouse. It still is until essentially right now. No pun intended, but Isaac Hildesheim. How was it making that transition and now going to basically play for him while he was building stuff? Because who was the OC? Was Lee Rowland was already there, right?
Lee Rowland, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how was it being there in that program, basically in those times when they were building something?
Amazing, man. Like, of course, Stuttgart, we had in 2007 a very successful year. We went to the German Bowl and lost against the Lions. Dennis Zimmermann had an amazing game. But then going to Swarko was definitely the most professional I've been a part of in Europe. Just how everything is structured. Well, I had a great ride with Kevin Heron up there because he worked in Munich back then. So we drove up there by car. So we had great conversations there. And Kevin is a great coach who is now the head coach, great mind. So driving up there, you're already like in football talking mode, you know, then you join there. The meeting usually already started. We were a little bit late, but obviously Lee Rowland is, in my opinion, just a great guy and also a funny coach. Don't want to get too deep in some comments right now, but that's good.
I don't like being in somewhere, let's say, I'd rather be with him on the field than off the field, let's say that.
Yeah, he has a very British humor.
He brings forth huge peer pressure on other people, just saying.
Yeah. That's just, yeah.
We don't need to continue together. Okay. No, because
yeah, but I loved it, man. And then obviously, Schuan, how the way the practice was structured, the way it was run, it's like really as professional as it gets. Like every second I felt like was really well organized and used. So that was really good.
Would you say you took that experience, like seeing that structure, what it is to essentially, like, because this is a thing, right? We still talk about European football, but you can still structure it. You could still run it like you would a high school program or a college program. Would you say you took that experience and adapted what you saw there to what you ultimately did at other programs and what you're doing now?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was of course, in the Bavarian All-Star team, we ran a good structure too. But that was really next level. Like really everybody's running. There's no wasted time. And also when a play or something was messed up, it's done. There is no like repeat hundreds of times. We had to learn that if you do shit right, well, you better get it right. Otherwise there's no second chances. And so that was something, but also really just speeding through the individual period, because before I attended, individual period to me were most of the time a little bit not relaxed, but not as stressful. So there I really learned how important it is to make practice more stressful than the game. So you're already used to it.
Yeah.
And it was just cool to experience that, because to be 100% honest, quarterback progression is always a tricky topic, but because of Lee Rowland, I got a different view on some things, progression-wise. For example, just Coach Sebastian, can you close your ears right now? Like, just kidding. No, it's just the easiest thing is if you go for verticals, maybe one of your slot receivers is the rhythm route or the first read. So you want to time that. Damn it, he's taking notes.
He won't remember.
He won't remember. Yeah, so just basically have a really progression. And usually every OC or quarterback coach should do that. But have a progression, time that with your footwork of the quarterback, time it with the timing of the route. And if that, let's say we use the slot receiver bender route and he has a collision, so obviously the timing is off. And then don't tell your QB to stare down, fuck it. If you hit your third step out of the gun, that timing is not there or that space is not free, go to your next read. And I, as a player myself, I had good coaches, but I felt like I never had such a clear progression. It was usually, oh, if you see two high, go to this side. If you see one high, then do this. And okay, great. But what if, I don't know, I don't see the safety rotation, or I don't know, like cover 2, cover 4, damn, it can look pretty similar, you know, like there's so much. Or then you have cover 6 and I'm like, whoa, okay, like mind-blowing shit. So yeah, so that really helped me to get a different approach in progression, which is kind of like the Bill Walsh progression, right? You peak and then you go 1, 2, maybe check down. That's kind of like the same thing. So yeah, but loved it. So thank you, Coach Rowland, if you're listening.
Yeah, we hope that Coach Rowland and Coach Schuhan also take time to listen to it. How is it for you? I mean, I'm also a German kid to become a coach. I learned the most of the German or let's say European coaches who give me advice. So I've been also to Ole Miss and to the States, but I have a handful of coaches I learn. It's like Coach Kruse from the Dresden Monarchs, Lee Rowland when he was at Dresden, Juan Fatah when he was at Dresden, and of course Nick Johansson, I met him in Graz, he's American, and Seth Womack, who also helped me come to the States. So this is just 5 coaches I learned the most from, and I feel always when a European coach like you or like Coach Mel, like me, when we are come to one success point, when you look back, you always see the across the way with Juan Fatah.
The coaching tree.
Also, I mean, you're also more an offensive guy, you are a Lee Rowland, but they're working out tight together over the last 10, 15 years. Is it just me who feels that, or is this are the 2 coaches you say they're really open to help young coaches, because we all know they're coming great big names, American coaches over, and you work with them, and after a year you feel like, yeah, but what I can do. And I always feel like when I was 18, I was flag team coach in Dresden. I think I know football. I'm the greatest coach ever. I go in the office, I say, Schuhan, I play next week against the Outlaw. I put everything on the whiteboard. He was looking at it like, yeah. Scrap everything.
Erased everything.
Let's do it like this. And I feel like, oh, that is the real football going on. I don't know how you feel with these 2 guys, because we bring up the names, and they're for me all really big names in football.
I think to this, from a US experience, American coaches don't, and I'm not saying everyone, of course, but they don't share. because it's like, of course, there are great ones, and I had the chance to meet really great coaches there too that shared a lot of knowledge with me. But like, if you go to these clinics, they talk about the surface of some things, but not really coaches go deep into their stuff. So now if we talk about coaches like Shu and Fatah, they have been in the shoes where we were. Like, they started from zero. They started, like, even back then, not saying they're old, but like YouTube is my #1 resource. If I have a question about anything, like I had to change my flat tire on my bike, haven't done it in a while, so I looked up how to change a flat tire and got it done.
Yeah.
So, so these guys know how the struggle is real when you just have no clue, when you just try not to drown, you know, try to get shit done. And I feel like that's why these guys share also and help.
Yeah.
So
you
like
as well as a coach like that, you're like open-minded, sharing with young coaches because you're old right now. You share.
Good one. Good one.
This is a lot of shots fired today.
No,
a lot of shots. Thankfully, I'm bulletproofed. Yes, I share, and maybe you've seen my quarterback video that I did that I uploaded on YouTube. I made that. Oh, perfect. Damn it, then he really knows what I'm doing. Huh?
Everybody knows. All 5 viewers of it.
I think I even hit the 1,000 viewers mark right now. But
Minus?
No, keep serious.
That's a joke.
Soon I'm making money of it. Now, here's the thing, what I believe, like, it's a copycat world. We all try to figure out our own puzzle. And the real key is, what players do we have? What are their strengths? And how do we use them? If we go back to that 4 vertical concept, if I don't have a quick slot guy, I don't need to use the bender route as my first read because it's not going to work. So I love to share. I love to help because I know how it is if I don't know what to do or what is the best way to do. And I feel like this sharing or no caring, no sharing, no caring mentality is just harming the players, because we try to help to develop the game, develop the players. And the reason why I put that video out there is, like, I made it because I had the chance for an NFL internship. So at some point I looked it up, it had really 4 views or 5 views. And I'm like, well, I guess nobody gave a damn. And then I was like, okay, I can like let that video die on YouTube, or I might help one guy out there to look it up, or one quarterback out there who has no quarterback coach and at least know what he can do during individuals. A spot where I have been in Königsbrunn when we went to a camp in Italy, I looked around when it came to individuals for 15 minutes and I was like, okay, I have no coach. Everybody's doing shit what I'm doing right now. So I came up with some footwork drills that I could do during that time. And that's why I share. I will not give you my video and my signal videos. I might not share the game plan I have against you, but if you ask me a question, I'm sharing.
Perfect.
But I want to say this.
Yeah.
I don't like talking football with too many guys because many guys are ego-driven. That being said, I can say, hey, I coach the quarterback technique like this because of this and this and this. And they just don't give a shit. They just want to bring their impression or their opinion on me, which is fine. I love learning. But if you're ego-driven, well, I'm not really. I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Fuck off.
I hope young coaches, young players listen to that. And I mean, like we say, we bring up other coaches, or even me or Coach Mele. We are always open. If someone has any question, hit us up, because we all know how it was. Like, I'm now 33. I know how it was 13 years ago. There was nobody waiting for Sebastian out there. You have to look for your own way to get it done. What comes now to the next topic. Now you've been a player at the Swago Raiders. How you make the decision, now I want to be a coach and I want to do this full time. How that was going on to the journey of being back in a long journey, being back right now in the GFL with the Dudes.
It has been a ride now, yeah. So 2011 I didn't play because I started coaching. I took over the Augsburg Raptors junior program. We played in the lowest junior league in the Bavarian Federation. We had Spielgemeinschaft, like a combined team with Landsberg. And I started my first practice in Augsburg with 8 players. So that's how I started. Did all the stuff that all these other German guys or European coaches very well off. You try to recruit players, you see a big fat dude, you're like, hey, you want to play football? Hey, you want to play football? All get frustrated, nobody shows up, but we won 6 out of 7 games in the lowest league. So that was a pretty cool experience for most of these kids. Then a year later, I joined the Rangers, the Munich Rangers in the 4th league as the quarterback coach. Worked my way up every year from the coordinator to the head coach. Joined the Kirchdorf Wildcats in 2015 as an offense coordinator. In the meantime, I also got the chance to be the quarterback coach of the German national team from 2011 till today. And 2011 to 2015, I was the offense coordinator for the Warriors. So I kind of like jump-started my coaching career with doing as much stuff as I can to learn and grow, but to teach and share. And I love that journey. I mean, like, as we all know, doing a lot of stuff can like be very exhausting. I also ran some camps in Germany, Switzerland, in Spain, in Spanish. And there's a specific word in Spain. Cono is cone. Conyo is, I have to be very careful how I say that right now, is like a certain part of a woman's body. And I mixed up these 2 words. Everybody laughed, so I think it was okay. Yeah.
I still remember that joke. I forgot how many years ago you told me this, what happened. I think it was.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
You told me about it too. No, because like, I mean, I think all of us in this room share the same philosophy. Where I was kind of talking about before when we had our pre-talk before we went live, but the thing that you notice out here and kind of talk about where you've gone like year to year and you've had to make the steps, because this is a thing, right, where people don't understand. If you want to make a career coaching, you have to have that mentality where you say, this job where I'm at, it's essentially a stepping stone. Yeah. And I know we've kind of had this conversation a few times where kind of working our way up to where we are right now. What happens along the way? Let's say you leave a place and you hear it for the most time out here in Europe. You don't hear it in the States, because in the States it's normal for somebody to just take on the next job. Like right now with Mike,
exactly.
He came from Wazoo, right? Washington State. Literally the week before he signed his extension, the next week he's gone and he's at Mississippi. Yeah. And the thing is, like, people look at it here in Europe where it's like, for example, for you, and I want to know your thought process of it. Did you ever have any feeling or guilt or something when you moved on, let's say from one program to the next year? Because this is a thing when we hear about it in the forums and all that, people talk crap. They'll say, oh, he's leaving up, it's family and blah, blah, blah. And I always say, it's funny when we talk about family, but maybe I don't have a job next year. Maybe I get fired. So there is no I love you guys. Don't get me wrong. I love you guys. I want the best for you guys. I really care for you guys. But at the end of the day, it's a job.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. I agree. And if somebody, like, okay, let's say this first. I felt a lot of guilt for leaving former teams because other people made sure I feel guilty for a decision that I made for myself. So why the hell should I feel guilty if I'm not happy at point A? Because for whatever reason, like if the reason doesn't matter, maybe I was the problem, I don't know. But some people are making sure that you feel guilty for leaving a hobby or a volunteer program or as a coach than something where you make millions of dollars. And I hope that at some point we all realize that if somebody decides to leave, why don't we ask him, why are you leaving? Instead of just, oh, he's leaving, he's cancer, he's a bad guy, whatever. So I had a player when I took over that Augsburg team who was leaving, and I asked him why, and he said, well, I don't really trust this program here, and I don't know you, I don't trust you. I'm like, hey, that's fair enough, you don't know me. I'm sad he didn't give me a chance, but it's fair enough. So I just would love that in European football community, we realize joining a team is not a cult. And if somebody is like leaving that team, then we should figure out the reason why he wants to leave. If there is no possible solution, then I wish you all the best. But hey, maybe you come back later 5 years from now and then we work together at some point again. but I feel like people don't understand that because we think short term, not long term, and we are too ego driven. Like, you leave me, oh, F you. Stupid.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Because I mean, I remember, was it 2016 when I came back to Algoy from Kiel, and I remember getting an offer.
And you had a journey as well.
I was a long journey. Yeah, that's why we kind of connect.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I remember when I had the offer to go to Schwäbisch Hall, and I felt bad then now being basically gaining the trust of the guys again in Algoy, because for a lot of the guys it was like, oh, Mele left us and went to Kiel. You know, well, it's like, I'm going to take that jump because it's a great opportunity, especially for the coaches that I had there, the program that was ran. It was as professional as you can get. But I still remember that year now into the offseason going into 2017, I had the offer from Jordan Newman at Hall, and I felt guilty to leave. But if it wasn't for Coach Kaler, Brian Kaler, who ended up going to Frankfurt, and now he's at Weinheim, the Longhorns.
Weinheim Longhorns, yeah.
He's like, Mele, go. He said, go. He said, I've taught you everything. You've reached the roof here. He's like, it's time for you to go. You're going to progress in your coaching. He's like, you have to take it.
Amazing, man.
And if it wasn't for him, the guilt wouldn't have been there. I still felt bad and stuff like that, but at least he kind of like relieved that kind of weight off my shoulder. It was kind of more like, oh, I'm leaving them again. You know what I mean? And of course, there's still going to be people who still say, oh, he left us and he's not loyal. Well, it has nothing to do with loyalty.
Yeah.
You know, loyalty is what I'm saying behind your back or in closed doors, you know, and at least I had the support from him, you know, and that's what I could say with you, where it's like you said, it comes down to people making you feel guilty about it, you know, not the situation. I don't know how Coach Fandert feels about that.
No, I mean, absolutely not. I will quick explain how I get my jobs and why I get jobs and how I make it to the States, because I think you have also a very interesting genre in the States. So when I was young, I was like, with the Dresden Monarchs, I'd never be a big player. I started coaching with 16, and then I get the opportunity to go first time to Austria with 22. And then the Braunschweig Lions called me at 23 and asked me if I want to be the special teams coordinator, which sounds awesome. And
amazing, man.
People asking me, why you ever leave Braunschweig again? I tell you, I get 300 euros a month. And I'm living in a room with students together that cost me 400 a month. So that's why people say, oh, why are you doing this? So I was working in a Chinese restaurant, cleaning it, driving taxi, selling jeans in a store, and it just make my money to stay alive. And I had 1 year later great opportunity. The former head coach, he said, hey, you want to come to Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri? Funny note, Troy Tomlin was the offense coordinator there. I eat random noodles. I spent every single cent on this flying ticket to go over there. And then I say, fuck it. Now I'm here. I want to make the next step. I sent out 700 letters, physical letters, to every school, and then 3 answered: Harvard, Duke, and Ole Miss. And Ole Miss was the cheapest one I can get in. But don't ask how this year in Germany. I take every job I can get. Everyone say, oh, Coach Fandert is moving teams around. I say, I take the German teams to save money to get my dream back in the day. Get that right. I remember when I come back from a great experience. We beat Odell Beckham Jr., LSU. We play at Johnny Manziel. I come back at Frankfurt Airport. I call my sister and I say, hey, I'm broke. I need to come back today. So and this is what it is, you know, how much you want to put in. So this is why when players tell me, Coach, I can't come to practice, I say, oh, you sure? You can't come to practice? I mean,
what's your excuse?
And of course, I mean, and how you come to this, because we all know there is no 20,000 euro bill a month for a football coach in Europe. How you come to, I really say it like it is, stay alive as a European football coach, because people out there, they always see, oh, you're the head coach, you're sleeping the whole day, go once a week to practice, and blah, blah, blah. how you coming up, because you did also a great journey from USA, Japan, all that stuff. How did it comes for you?
Well, let me put it like this. Besides Japan, everything was struggle.
Yeah.
Like, besides Japan, everything was like, I mean, thankfully I never had that situation that I arrive at Frankfurt airport and I have zero on my bank. So I'm happy that never happened. But I saved every money I could get while I was studying. I studied to become a teacher. So, yep, Mele, that's right. I see you looking at me right now. I'm a teacher. So
I'm like, where is this going now?
So I had tons of shitty jobs. I worked as a bouncer at nightclubs. Like, if we're not super dangerous nightclubs, I'm probably, people that know me know I'm the least aggressive person ever. But believe it or not, it helped me to become a better coach, because at some point you have to stand your ground if you have a couple of angry people that you have to throw out that are too big or 2 heads taller than you. Like, thankfully they left voluntarily, otherwise it would have been a really bad situation.
You cut them.
Yeah. And then they just fall on me and I'm dying. But yeah, so I had tons of shitty jobs in a packaging company where you get treated like shit. So I saved up all these money, and every time I had the chance, I flew over. So kind of like what you did. And but it's worth it. So yeah, I never refuse that I don't choose a different lifestyle of
absolutely.
safety and comfort zone.
El Paso, how you come to El Paso?
Wow, that's a long story. So that's good. So generally, I want to say that these traveling also to the pro teams that I had the chance to came because Eugene Kremser sent an email to Jim McNally. Jim McNally answered. They became really close. And so through Eugene and Jim McNally, I got the chance to visit the Cowboys in 2012 and connect with Coach Bill Callahan, who is now the O-line coach of the Browns, and stay still in touch with him. And that's kind of like how the journey started. So then 2015, while we were at the European Championship with the German national junior team, a friend of mine, Benjamin Hammer from Rosenheim, who was back then in Western New Mexico and is now the graduate assistant at Northwestern, he connected me with the German video coordinator from UTEP, Jürgen Kapp. So he came by to scout some European talents, and I just asked him, hey, Jürgen, do you think you can ask your head coach if I can come by? He did. The head coach said yes. I came by for 2 weeks. 2 years later, I asked again if I can come by for the whole spring and volunteer. They said yes, worked my ass off. At the end of the journey, I asked the head coach straightforward, is there a job for me? He said he will see. 3 months later, I got a text. You got the job if you want it. I don't know what he was doing while he was texting me that, but you know, I always expected when I get the message, it's like, I don't know, the confetti is falling down on me. I just
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, for a lot of European coaches, especially Europeans in general, working their way up as a coach, that is the dream job, to get that yes. And
yes,
you know, how was that transition now, going from being a German European coach to now coaching the States? Because that, you now have to work your way. Because at the end of the day, as a GA, it depends on the situation you're in. Maybe you get a good situation, maybe you don't, but it's what? You're the assistant to the assistant of the assistant.
Yeah, that's how you can explain it. You're the guy who makes the least money and who has to be always there. Like, I never forget my first free weekend. I woke up on that Saturday and I'm like jumping out of bed, ready to run somewhere because I thought I'm late. And then I remembered, oh, wait, the season is over. It's okay. I'm good. I'm safe.
Yeah, it is. It was when I arrived at Ole Miss, it's just, you're getting tons of, you're coming in with this expectation of people showing you the world right now. Okay, this is how we call third down defense. This is, and then you sit down with the breakdown films, making notes. I've had, for every outside linebacker, I have watched the film after every practice, make a breakdown, 5 good points, 5 weak points, sending this out. And I was prepared. I was like, it's rock and roll in this linebacker meeting. Woo! Okay, thanks for the paper, and sitting back and listen to the other guys. But it still is an unbelievable word. I mean, you're talking with players and coaches. Of course, you learn a lot, but this is why I was asking you before which coaches infect you. Because for them, coach is a business. They tell you, hey, get your shit done. If not, you're flying home tomorrow. You know, a relationship
very true.
Of work, not of like sitting down with you guys here and then talk about X's and O's. That's how it was over there. I don't know. And we all know Omaze is the best university in the world, you know.
UTEP? Well, not record-wise, but yeah.
No, how was it at Upper El Paso?
I mean, amazing. So exactly what you said, nobody really explains you shit. I thought I get there and everything will be like like everybody will explain me exactly what to do. To give you my first motherfucking lesson when I got motherfucked for the first time. I will never forget that. So I was responsible for the scout DBs on my first year there. So the whole camp, of course, everybody was there in August. So what poor me didn't know is when class starts, some people, especially the walk-ons, are not going to be there. So I never forget that last walkthrough before we flew to Oklahoma to play them. My safeties were not there, none of them. Of course, rookie GA coach me did not know to check that really. So my walkthrough was about, or our walkthrough was about to start, the mock game. The scout defense runs on the field. While I'm jogging on the field, I realize, where are my freaking safeties? Oh. Sorry, what is that? Is that me?
What are you doing?
Sorry guys, do you hear that?
What are you watching?
Yeah, there's some voice in the back.
What is that?
We can't help you. It's on your end.
It's on your end. I don't know which other sites you open there. It's your private area.
This is like back with the Ausfall again.
Ah, yeah. That's like back with it. Yeah.
Oh, but I mean, it's
okay.
I mean, we'll let you handle that. But kind of touching on mine, I mean, it's funny because actually when I was in Kiel, the biggest thing that I don't know, a lot of people know Coach Stephen Parker. He coached at Oklahoma State. Was an All-American in Arkansas, with the Miami Dolphins, was also coaching at New Mexico Highlands before he came over here. He kept the structure, and he had high expectations. Like, to be honest, and I'm going to say this too, I mean, and I'll be brutally honest with this, I did not feel ready going into that job. It was a great opportunity, don't get me wrong, but I did not feel ready. And I don't, it's hard, I mean, I don't know how a lot of coaches feel, but for me, for the most part, especially when I started off, I didn't feel ready. It was more about myself being self-critical and being like, fuck, I don't know this shit. Like, I would contact you and stuff, or even like when I was in Poland last year. Sometimes
I remember. Yeah.
The question that I'm asking, but I just needed like the second opinion to confirm it in my head that I was doing it right. Like,
but you got it already. You knew it already.
I sent you my call sheet, and you're like, oh, you're fucking fine. You're like, this is better than mine. You know?
True, man. I'm like, damn, man, that's very well structured. I might
level somehow. But like Parker, I remember Parker would motherfuck me for typos on the practice face, for example.
Yeah.
You know, he was just like, make me right. And there's things that I did not figure out until a year, 2-3 years later, even now, where not that I was scared, it was more like I didn't want to let him down because I knew for him what it's like being a GA and working his way, because he didn't baby me. Like a lot of European coaches get babied. Like, he treated it like it was D1. He had high expectations for me. He said, you are my guy. Like, and this is the thing, right? Like, you talk about, like, we didn't have money in this. He would buy my own food for me when I was there in Kiel. So he took, because I wasn't getting paid shit, you know? Yeah. And just to have me there, because I was his guy and I spoke a little bit of German. But he helped me to a high standard. He said, this is what I expect from you. And he said, do not let me down. And he's a very close friend of mine, so that, but that was kind of the thing where you kind of talk about, like, it's like the structure. That is the biggest, Coach Holly said it yesterday on yesterday's show. It's like, the structure is the biggest difference. You know, that's what people don't realize. It is, you either go 110% according to that structure and schedule, or you're not going to cut it. Because if you can't cut it in European football, if you can't, as a player, you can't accustom yourself and live by what coaches tell you what their expectations are, you can't even do it as a coach. Like, you're not going to make mistakes. There's no way, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. The structure is like that. That's like going to UTEP. I mean, since I had my trips there and I volunteered there, I knew how they work. I knew, like, that we have to be on point with stuff. So that's why I knew what I was throwing myself into practice-wise, but I did not know of preparation. So now you're talking about during the season, oh yeah, it's the dream to do football 24/7. Sure. Yeah. But if you're a GA and you still have to do your masters after you've been in the office from like 5:30, 5:45-ish until 9:10 till you finish the last breakdown of the day, still have to do a 2-3 hour like term paper shit. So that's like next level. How bad do you want it? And then finishing my story, what is the best? First time I got motherfucked, I'm running on the field, no safeties. The second I realized that I love the head coach, Sean Kugler, amazing guy. And he looks like, or he was voted in one of the top 5 coaches you want on your site in a brawl. So I don't know. I was like, he was like, Frank, where are the motherfucking safeties? And he is on my face. And I felt so embarrassed. And then 2 players jogged on the field and were like, Coach, we got you. And like from that moment, I was on my shit because I felt pretty confident after camp, you know. And the offense coordinator back then, Brent Peace, I'm so thankful I had the chance to work for him because exactly what you said, make me right. That's what Coach Parker said. He cursed me out as well when I fucked up the drawings in the scouting report. And it's like we're talking about, this is the angle of a post he wants. I might had it like this, like a millimeter or 2. He was like, the fuck, Frank? You know, like.
See what Coach Frank explained. He drew the angle 2 millimeters wrong.
Flatter.
Yeah.
And
then I had to redo the whole shit. But I'm thankful for it because he taught me to be detailed. Yeah. And now, yes, we might think, oh, the drawing in the playbook, blah, blah, blah. But he just explained me that players will tell him, but in the playbook, it's like this. Yeah. So he was hard on me, but at the same time, he invited me for pizza. You know, like I went over to his house and we were talking football, especially when I volunteered. He trusted me even also later on then with some quarterback stuff. And I'm so thankful for that, you know. So I think the biggest thing is when I went there, I thought I'd work pretty detailed, but I wasn't. I was okay, but I was not really working detailed. So I think this is the biggest thing that I took from my American experience. Be detailed. Just know what you do and why you do it. And if you don't know why you do it, then rethink it. Just know for yourself. If it's the best way, I think that doesn't matter because you will learn and grow as things happen, but just know why. Like, why do you run a post in that angle? Why not in a different angle? As an example.
100%, because that's the thing where I even try to teach my players. I'm like, you need to know why. Why are we running this play? Why? What is the difference in a 2 high or a 1 high look? What are we trying to do on this given play? Why is this guy on and this guy is not? And I quiz them on that. Even right now with the whole lockdown, and I have my online meetings with them and I quiz them. I ask them why. Because this is my opinion. As a coach, your players should be able to know why you are running certain concepts. Why? Yeah. Not just, oh, on a smash concept, I'm running a stick route or a replace route or whatever you're running or a spot route, however way you run it, right? But why? Why is it ran like that? They should know. Because if they don't know, they won't be successful.
Yep.
Simple.
If they don't know why, then you did not a good job as a coach, I think. So
like,
at least that's how I try to.
The very small fine print, but they should know a basic why. Why are we running it like that? You know?
Yeah.
You know? That's my biggest thing. Because they should be able to be what? Basically, essentially almost a mirror image of you. You know?
Yeah.
That's also what essentially when you go into a program as a GA or an assistant, you want to be that for what? For the coordinator, for the head coach, and that trickled all the way down to the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially OC quarterback relation is so important. Like 2017 with the Dukes, Rick Webster was such a good quarterback, but also a great person and a great mind. So, like, I remember the one situation I forgot the team we played. I'm not sure which one it was. It doesn't matter. So he audibled a route on the field, a skinny post to Lawrence Regler for a touchdown pass. And then, like, that was his call. I had a different concept, but he saw whatever, I think the safety alignment, that's why he did that. It was a touchdown. And then he came off the field. I'm like, hey, fucking great job, man. Why did you do it? He told me that. perfect. I'm happy. So I don't need to be that guru play caller guy. Like if my players have a good idea and it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then we have an issue. But yeah.
No, that's true. That's definitely true.
But teaching them to be successful and think for themselves is important.
And at the
like
same
the quarterback OC relation.
And the same thing as you expect as a coach, like going into whatever job, I mean, you expect also to be given that lenience, not as a coach, but also as a player, to kind of like figure out things for yourself. The worst thing to do is to tell guys, or like, as we just talked about, like Coach Fandert was talking about too, like you think, oh, they're going to teach you everything. You know, I remember like Kiel, when I left Kiel, to be honest, I couldn't regurgitate every small detail because we ran the air raid, you know, from back in the day with Oklahoma State with like Holgerson and all them. But I couldn't regurgitate everything. Now I can. But after that first year, hell no. You know, and you think, oh, they're going to teach me everything. You don't have time. There is no time. You're like, hey, Mele, you know, whatever it is, on 92, it's like this, this, and this, and this. On our stick concept, it's like this, this. They don't have time for that. It's like they'll teach it to you quick. You get what you fucking can from it, you know? Hopefully the players can run the gist of it. Because like when I was taught me the system, and then players would come in, because we did everything padded. We had no playbooks, no answers. Guys would come in, they would meet with me, and I would have to regurgitate the system to them. Wow. That's pressure, man. I tell you, I'm just sitting there in meetings, I'm like, I hope I explained this the right way, because then I'm you know, it's the same way. Like it's actually good to have that freedom to make the mistakes. And this is the thing, I never took a motherfucking like personal. I'd always smirk when I got motherfucked. The German coaches couldn't handle that, and Dan Dish, our DC, who came from North Carolina, he was there for like 5 years or something. Literally came straight to us. He was always like, "Why is Mele always smirking when he's getting motherfucked?" I was used to it from college. You know, you play in the college system. You know, you're getting motherfucked. It's like, okay, I did something wrong. I need to fix it. It was never like, oh shit, like I fucked up. It's a personal. It was more like I need to kind of pick it up. You know?
Yeah. You have to get used to be bulletproof. Like, I still think there should be a certain level of respect. But like, if you can't handle at least getting yelled once in a while, then I think that's just the wrong. Especially in the US, like that's the next level of getting yelled at sometimes. Like sometimes I was like, did he really just say that? Like,
you're like, damn, this is a different type of level of getting yelled at. This is
I mean, that's for sure. Like,
I'm taking notes.
I don't know if my pen can handle writing down these words. So
No, but now talking in terms of like, now you made the jump most recently to Japan, and we kind of talked about, you know, throughout the season, but you went to the other side of the football and made the jump to the Lixil Deers. How was that experience? First of all, going to, like you said, there it was structure, right? Structure, everything was ran like a professional team, essentially. You could talk more, of course, further about how that was, but how was that experience going to now that situation where it's ran the way that we would expect as coaches for a program to be ran, and practices and everything from the scheduling, and also now jumping to the defense side of the ball, because you now got signed on as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. So, okay, to go back, after my first season at UTEP in 2017, the whole staff got fired. The whole staff. After game 3, the OC, then the head coach after game 5, and after the season, the whole staff. Even me and Benjamin Hammer, the 2 German GAs on that UTEP team. And so that was a shock. I'm like, how can that happen? That's my dream. I'm supposed to be here. So how can I get fired? But Ben and I just decided to stick around, and because we had to finish schoolwork anyways. So the new coaching staff came in. We helped them little things like with the copy machine code. And then finally they rehired us. So that was great. So then the new coaching staff came in. They moved me to the defense side of the ball because we were short on defense guys there. And I was like, heartbreaking. I'm an offense guy. How can I end up on defense?
Whoa, slow down, cowboy.
Wait. Let me finish. Now, I really love freaking defense. I love both. But back then, it was freaking hard. So, and then I started with the D-line. I'm a quarterback coach. I was a quarterback guy. I'm like, what? I cannot even watch Skelly because we do one-on-one pass rush.
That's true.
So, but I spent spring with the D-line, fall with the safeties. and did also special team. I was the special teams GA scout team there. Best experience ever, because I learned the other side, first the line of scrimmage, then the backfield. We played the dime defense that Iowa State is running with 3 safeties that I haven't seen before. And I'm like, damn it, that opens up the box, which it doesn't. So overall, best thing that could happen to me. But then that season was over and I'm like, okay, Frank, what's happening now? I applied for a 1-year visa that I got. I had job interviews in Division III schools, D2 schools, but nobody wanted to hire me because I only are limited to a 1-year visa. So I was like, okay, I'm not giving up. I applied in Canada, I applied in Japan. Turns out the Lixil Deers answered. And
tell me, how many letters did you send out? I mean, because you've done this and we talked about this. How many letters was it you normally?
I mean, Sebastian, you said 700, right? I beat you with that. It's literally, I'm not gonna lie, like thousands. I'm really like if I summarize all the letters that I sent from, don't let me lie, December 2017 when I got fired till February 2019 when I still was looking for a job, it were thousands for sure. Like, not exaggerating, just like constantly writing everybody. Some answered, but it was never really something in particular. So, but I still would do it again, because if I would not have done it, I probably would think, oh, I should have done it. But yeah, and so I send out, but to Japan, I sent emails because I could not figure out, I barely could figure out the email address. Yeah, so thankfully there's Google Translate. So then the Lixil Deers called me for a job interview. And when they asked me for my strength, I said, well, obviously it's offense and special teams. And they were like, but we need a defense coordinator. Can you do it? And I'm like, well, of course, because that's the answer you should give on an interview, right? Yes, of course I can do it. And I will figure out the details later. So
absolutely. That is what sorry for 1 second. That's what I always say to young guys, because we're also dealing with young kids. They probably have a job interview. I always say, go out, whatever they say. If you ride a horse, say yes. Go home, Google how to ride a horse. You know,
yeah, exactly.
If you say once no, it's always a no. I mean, make it happen. If you want it, make it happen. It's a super big message I give always to kids. I mean, because
perfect.
Flying around everyone. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. You're so right. And like, it's the same thing, what we all say, just get freaking out of your comfort zone, because on the edge of your comfort zone is growth waiting. So how can you get better if you stay in this comfort zone, right? Yeah, so long story short, they flew me in for a weekend practice in Japan. Loved every second of it. And I did a good enough job, so they hired me. So that was the story how I got to Japan.
Perfect. How many years you been then in Japan?
How many days or
years? Yeah, how many
years? 1 season, and I was there for 8 months, basically.
Okay.
How was that experience? How would you compare, first of all, the practices, how everything is ran? Because we've talked about this extensively, and a lot of people don't know how well Japan is set up, where I would say it's number 3 in the world. It's better than the GFL. And for the most part, there was a ranking sent out a while ago from AFI where they put those teams higher than, let's say, the New Yorkers and the Halls. And there's a reason for that, because those teams are better, not only from practice structure to the strength and conditioning aspect of it, to the commitment of the level that the players keep, for example, because they take this seriously. And I'm not saying that here guys don't take it seriously, but people still look at it over here in the GFL. Yes, it's the highest league in Europe, for example, but they still look at it as being what, semi-pro. And in Japan, there's a different view, right?
It's a different view. It's the same thing. Usually the Japanese players work full-time, but they call it professional football. So first things first, when I got there, I did not know Japan has college football. They have college football. And they have practice fields. They have little clubhouses. It's not like big, like Ole Miss or UTEP or US-wise, but it's great. I freaking loved it. Like the clubhouse that we had with Lixil, it's not the nicest buildings, but it's our home field, basically. Sure, we shared with the rugby team, but just going there was beautiful. I enjoyed it. And then we have a practice field with lines, with original yard lines. So not like the 4 yards or 5 yards deal, or it's an 80-yard field. It's a whole football field. I loved it. And that turns out the more I learned about football in Japan, that's just normal for most of the teams. So I was very impressed by how they take things professionally. Let's say in the US, we always talk about be efficient, have short practices, blah, 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 blah. Same what we kind of try to do here. Well, the Japan work culture is insane. My players work from early morning till late at night, Monday to Friday. So Wednesday we had a volunteer practice, but everything happens on the weekend. So Saturday morning lifting meetings, then we have practice, and practice can be 3.5 to 4 hours easily with a hardcore conditioning at the end. Meetings afterwards, oh, I forgot the volunteer walkthroughs that we had after practice. And nobody is complaining. Nobody. They just do it. And that is the number one thing I took from Japan. Just do it. Don't freaking complain. And I don't know, they have so much respect, so much discipline. Sure, I neither would like to work that many hours in my regular job. And then Sunday is, half of the day is football as well. And since we work so much, or they work so much, games were all every 2 weeks. And this is how it's structured there. And I loved it. I was really impressed. And I agree with you, after Northern America, Japan is right there. And sure, there are some teams, you have the top 8 teams that would beat, in my opinion, every team in Europe. And then you have the X1 is like the second division, basically. And they're like the top teams there would also compete against every team in Europe. And I'm not like, I know some people might be butthurt of that, but Japan is better. Structure-wise, from the league, from the teams, how they are run, they are better. So we better catch up.
We kind of looked at, where I remember like during the season, you sent me some cut-ups to look at from the defense side of the ball. And I remember the first cut-ups I pulled up, I looked and I was like, is this D1? Because I looked at the speed, the size of the players, I was very much impressed. They look like Division I, D1 AA athletes, the way they're put together, the size, the speed, the way they move, the way they rolled into coverages, they disguised. This looked like ball in the States. That's what stood out.
Yeah, they do things in college. Sorry, what's that?
Sorry, is it also interesting for them to come to Europe or go to the States to play football for the kids there?
For some it is, but the Japanese culture is a lot of pride, a lot of like being proud of what they're doing. Like if you work for that company, that's a really like proudful thing. So I'm pretty sure some players have the desire to go to the US, like the best Japanese running back, Taku Lee from Obik Seagulls. He got invited to the Canadian Football League tryout, which has been canceled right now. But like there are some really, really good players, like quick, tough, don't complain. In my 8th month there, I had not one situation where a player was complaining about anything. And if I would not have told him, hey, if you have any questions, if things are unclear, please ask me. So then after I did that, they told me some suggestions they had for certain pressures. But amazing, amazing. And I'm not saying German or European guys are not disciplined. I'm not saying that.
But you're saying more as a whole. That's kind of what we're trying to get at. It's more as a whole, where you told me the big thing that stuck out to me is like, what was it? When they walk out to practice, before they step on the field, they cross that line, they bow, and before they get off, they bow, because it's respect. They have respect for the game. And that's also
before the game.
Not only the discipline, but the respect, because you know, this last year I was in Paris helping out the CFL Combine in Paris, and the big things we talked about, you know, behind closed door was like we wanted to look at was with the head scout there and the CEO was, how do these guys handle adversity during this test day? We don't want to look at how athletic there's a reason why they're invited. We want to look at how do they handle, let's say, running a slow 40, and now on the next test they got to do bench press. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing scouts in the States want to look at. There's a reason why you're being looked at. It's the other attributes. It's the intangibles. Yeah,
absolutely. And like, if I just think about one particular practice we had that was, I'm not exaggerating, it was almost 4-hour practice, like with 40 minutes individuals, and then scout teams, everything, almost 4 hours. And then we had this hardcore conditioning at the end. And then on the final head coach's huddle on the field, the head coach was talking for 15 minutes. It literally got to a point where I was tired. And in my mind, I was like, man, okay, I hope we're done now soon. And then I was like looking around, and everybody was like a soldier. Okay. Paying attention. If I would have pushed that slat that many times, I would be dying. Like, and I'm so thankful to have made that experience, because if I would have ran that practice with the UTEP football team, with any other European team I've been a part of, the half of the team would freak out, like, or kill the coach, or just yell or bitch around, or crazy. It's insane. It's special. So yeah, and but also the league works together. You know, as an example, since Tokyo, of course, has such a big like population, there is the Kawasaki Stadium, and you have 3 games on a Saturday and a Sunday in that stadium. The first game usually is at 11, the second game I think at 2, and the third game is at 5. And that just works like continuously. Game done, boom, next team on the field, warm up, let's get rolling here. So I feel like that the X League is just doing also a great job in guiding teams, structuring things. So I think that's also a point where we can improve here.
What numbers of spectators you have there in Japan? Is football a big thing? Is it TV? How that works?
So I know a lot of games are like streamed. So that's one thing. I know that's happening here too in the GFL now since the last couple of years. But I feel like there's a better media presence, like Inside Sports Japan is doing. John Grunning, a good friend of mine.
Right.
Yeah, he wrote you today. Yeah.
Came at us this morning. Copyright.
Yeah. Why are you stealing pictures?
Not me. I know about that part.
Yeah, sorry, I sent it to you. It's my fault.
I'm blame it on the speakers. Yeah.
No, but I think generally there's such a good media presence. I don't know, like, I wish we could implement, I wish there would be more exchange, like from federations, Europe Federation, maybe just call them and ask them, how do you do things? Like, just drop your ego and let's just push this great game forward. Just stop being an ego-driven person. Like, that's what in my mind right now.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you say your experience in Japan was life-changing? Because I mean, we share kind of the same mindset where it's like there's always a reason why things happen. For example, like the reason why, let's say, you couldn't stay in the States, then you made the jump to Japan and so forth. Like, I always look at life, it is a journey, and it's all in terms of the adversity and the obstacles that we face. Because this is the thing, right? We're also teaching young men, not only young men, but guys that are even maybe dads, brothers, husbands, even little kids when we do with the youth, for example. Because even with the Warriors, for us, it was about changing lives every year, making that impact. Because like now I'm recruiting guys that played for me when they were 14, 15. Nice. They want to come play for me already. But
nice.
Would you say that experience, because I know you share the same mindset, also the way the Japanese live and the culture, because from what I saw and what you were posting on social media, I feel like it did have a huge impact and was life-changing, because the way you speak now and what you talk about is a little bit different than what you spoke about before. Also the yoga.
Oh, I was waiting until you say that.
I don't know what that is.
I have my little gong here, my yoga gong, but we can talk about yoga in a second. I just want to hit it one more time. So these 2 years in the US, if you go to a US football program, and there were amazing people, there were some not so amazing people that don't treat you very nice. It does something to you. Either you break or you find a way to push through it. So since I always preach, never give up, I was really telling myself, am I quitting here now or do I push through it? I decided the second, because I still love the game and I focused on the positive things instead of the negative things. So I already thought I'm a positive guy, but that made me even way more positive, because now I know that even if I've been put in a shit situation, I can focus on the positive things, push through. So going to Japan, I did not know that there is so less English been spoken. So you go to a different culture where little things like finding a freaking trash can freak you out because they don't have trash cans on the street.
Really?
So no, because you have supposed to carry your own trash back home. They're such a clean country. But after 8 months, I found some hidden trash cans where I could throw some stuff away legally, of course. Where you cannot communicate the way you want to communicate. Out of my, like we had on the team 60 players. When I take my 4 American players away, there were maybe like, let's say 8 or 9 guys that speak decent English. So most of the guys don't speak English. They learned through the year, but you have to adopt. So my English was more like, okay, today, install, 5-man, pressure. That's how I spoke, you know. And it was fun. Like it was learning for me and for them. But also doing the defense coordinator position there, of course, I learned a lot from UTEP. Talking to you helped me. Talking to Johnny Brenner helped me a lot. Thomas Kössling, like, especially with Johnny Brenner, I talked so much with him. I'm so thankful for all the guys, Kevin Heron, that helped me, Eugene Kremser, with some ideas, defense mindset-wise, to get me going. But that does something to you too. So I was at a point where I was like, am I really good enough to do this? Because I did not expect that level of Japan being that good. That honest. I was sitting in there for hours, really structuring things, coming from an offense mindset, special teams mindset. Like, we know what a cover 2 is, but how do you teach it? And how do you teach it if shit goes wrong? Like, what is your technique? Do you teach them the right eyes? Do you teach them the right techniques? So it was a big learning curve for me as well. But the one thing I know, I'm willing to sit down, invest the time, and get it done. So what I figured out through that is it's okay if you don't know things, but then find a way to do it and get better and get to know it. It's okay if you fail. And it's also okay because my safety there, Max Look, who is an amazing player, he's an American guy, he had some suggestions for me coverage-wise, technique-wise for DBs. And sure, my ego told me, you're the coach, you should know everything better. Fuck no. If somebody comes up with an idea that is good and he has that experience, I would be very stupid to not listen to it. So I'm not afraid to say I don't know everything, but I'm willing to work to get there. So, and one thing I also figured out is, again, dropping the ego helps you achieve that. But just because all my Japanese players are really like crazy warriors that like fight until a little inch, they are also really like emotional, but they're not taught to let it out. Okay. So when we lost this game and we didn't make it to the championship game, that was a big moment. As you know, samurais, they killed themselves when you failed. Thankfully, nobody expected seppuku from me. But it felt like we failed big time, you know. But as we all know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, right? Or, well, we never lose a game, we just run out of time. But there are so many lessons to learn from that. Getting back up, surviving.
How did they adapt to your personality and because for me, what I've seen of you as a coach, I would describe you as a teacher, as a motivator. How did they adapt it? Because I don't know what they had before or how their Japanese coaches are, but was there a difference, would you say? Did they tell you?
They did, because I did exit meetings with all of them. One of my backup corners, I never forget that. I was like, okay, I had a translator because otherwise I would not have been able to do that. And he said he did not really understand everything what I said to him the whole year. And I'm like, damn it, man, why didn't you tell me? Like, that's probably why you're backup. So, but yeah, anyways, no, they were happy because they told me they never had a positive guy who is not trying to simply yell at them. I'm like, you know me, I'm not a big yeller. I yell if we feel like we're lazy or if we don't take shit serious. This makes me angry. That's what really makes me pissed, if I see somebody is not taking that serious. But they were really happy to have somebody to encourage them instead of just yell at them and put them on a bench, because that's what they were used to from college. And I don't know. I'm just trying to be a positive energy guy, and I feel like if you enjoy what you're doing, you can be better. So that's what I believe in.
Did the whole yoga aspect of, did that come from Japan, or is that something you kind of picked up along the way to your new home in Ingolstadt again?
Well, Ingolstadt is not a big yoga metropole, but maybe it is, I don't know. But I wanted to do a yoga teacher training since 5 years at least, since I recovered. I had that slip back injury where I really had a bad back, and I had a surgery, I barely could move and all that stuff. So then I learned secret stretching methods like the good old couch stretch or the hip flexor stretch can help you big time. Then I discovered yoga slowly, but because of football, I never had the time. So when I was in Japan, since I could structure my whole day by myself, like just during the week, make my breakdowns whenever I want to, I dedicated a certain amount of time for my personal development and growth, like spiritual, meditation, yoga, all that stuff, which helped me to be calm, way more calmer. So then I tried to encourage my players to do some yoga stuff too back then. And after one practice, we had a weekend off. That was one of the rare weekends that we had off. I think it was the only one. I said, okay, guys, just make sure you enjoy the next week, do some yoga, like spend some quality time, do some Kama Sutra, whatever. So everybody was pausing. Here's the story. Everybody was just staring at me weird. And I'm like, Kama Sutra? You know, like, guys, they never heard of it. So I showed him like some pictures that I found of what that all is about. And then we installed a pressure that we called Kama Sutra so that I enforce they remember that. Yeah, that's why I did my yoga teacher training in February. And I think everybody should at least, that's what Jason Witten said. That's why he's playing so long in the NFL, because he did yoga in the off season. Okay. And it's great. So
you're doing this, what, every day?
I do it now every day. Yeah.
I mean, with the whole lockdown in Ingolstadt, how are you going about this? I saw some of the videos you sent me. You're doing like, is that a park, or where are you doing that at? Because you were way
of course, I'm practicing social distancing.
Right.
Well, so I go in the park by myself. It's in a forest where I live here close by, but I'm still in Augsburg. So
okay.
Yeah, in Königsbrunn to be precise.
Right.
And yeah, I go there at least every second day and enjoy nature and be present. Think about how I will attack the Ravensburg defense at some point, hopefully this year. And
hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. No, but that's like how we go about it. I mean, I try to send some videos in our like group that we have and just make sure that we stay on point with the signals, with the play call that we installed before we went into this lockdown situation. So, but I think we're all in the same boat. So we just try to maintain things. And when we get green light, that we are ready to hit the gas pedal and get rolling. So.
Right. How are you guys right now handling that whole lockdown situation in Ingolstadt? And for you, especially as offensive coordinator, because I don't know how many practices you got in essentially during this preseason time, but how are you kind of handling making sure your install is basically almost done? I know you got guys like Chris Forcier that's already there, so I would assume they're doing a good job of helping you out. Are you guys doing like weekly meetings, Zoom meetings? How's that going, at least for you guys, adapting to that situation and still trying to progress during this time?
Yeah, so we started beginning January with every Saturday having practice. So that means when I would say now we did a good amount of install, but of course we're not where we want to be, obviously, since we missed out for a month right now. So Chris landed a day after the United States shut down like the flights basically.
I remember seeing
that.
And
when I wanted to come over, when I wanted to go to their import house, like where they live in, and I wanted to like talk to him about things, well, they told us about the quarantine thing, so we're not allowed to leave. So I installed or I uploaded some videos of play installs in our group. Last week I uploaded some installs about the dime defense, how I coached them in Japan, how we did it at UTEP, to give the guys an idea what they might see, because I feel like that more and more teams will at least throw in this 3 safety defense against all these spread offense stuff. Like that's the new answer, right? So
Resident New
I
York
felt like it's, sorry, what's that?
Resident New Yorker doing it. I've seen that from last year.
Yeah, Schwäbisch Hall is playing that as well. I think there was another team. I think Dresden is playing that as well from time to time. And I think it's smart to do it because it gives you extra safety in the middle. Well, you always say middle of the field open or closed, right? So what is it with 3 safeties? Okay, middle of the field is closed technically, but damn it, there's still the 2 other safeties. So I just thought it's a good idea to, what I figured in Japan, I explained my defense guys things out of an offense perspective. Little things like if the quarterback looks to the left side first, he's might not coming back. Like the left side is not there, he goes to the right side. Usually he's not coming back to the left side again, like little things like that. Of course, there are multiple ways to do things. But so I thought it's a good way to do that here as well, teach some defense stuff, so to get a better understanding. So I did not have any specific Zoom meetings yet, but depending on how things will continue, we might start doing that as well. So far, I'm just uploading some videos there, but I think it's a great idea if you have specific Zoom meetings or what you said before, you quiz the guys. So yeah, I think that's great that you do that.
Sebastian, you got some?
Yeah, I think that's what we do too. And how it looks for you now, new offense coordinator and new quarterback. How much time you think you need from lockdown is over to the first game? We talked yesterday with Coach. Probably like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, but we all know on one point we need to stop because we need to make games. So how much time you say it's for the Dukes right now, if you can answer for the Dukes?
For the Dukes, yeah. I would say from my feeling point, 6 weeks with 2 weekends where we can have mini camps. That would be, I think, a decent amount of time to still be really game day ready. But the question I always have is like, okay, so now we get out of the quarantine. I'm not babysitting my guys. I just trust them that they stay in shape and do what they have to do with the limitations that they have. Thankfully, we're still allowed to go outside and do things there. Mm-hmm. So I hope they are in a good shape. I'm not saying in the best shape they can be or should be, but just in a good shape. So, but I think for my first, if we get now to know on April 20th, okay, we're ready to go, then I would really make sure that the first 2 weeks we do a lot of running, we do a lot of like conditioning, especially get the timing with the quarterback and the receivers. Like they never, like, you know, damn it. let me put that back. I need 3 months. Okay, so
yeah, I mean, that's what we say to all guys too. I say, as soon as we hit the field again, we will make 2-minute drills, red zone, all that stuff. We did also install a lot of stuff, but Coach Mele with offense, he had 1 practice and then was locked down.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's why we're making all Zoom things right now. I say, you know the stuff on paper, and I expect you to be in shape. I say, simple like it is, if you're not in shape, you can't be the team captain or the starter for the last years. You will not play this year because you need to find this 11, 15, 18 guys offense, 11, 15, 18 on defense who is in shape because facing the same. So this is so message out to all players: stay in shape, do something, nothing stupid, no big groups, but also O-liner, you can go jogging, do something.
Do something. There's so many YouTube, like you can watch random hit workouts, like just get something going. A message to the Ravensburg Razorback defense players: just chill, eat as much as you can.
I mean, you know, we have a 5-2 cover 0 defense. We're good.
Fuck. Okay. Good.
No, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like during this period. I mean, as long as you're doing body weight workouts, you're doing some sort of explosive stuff like jumping, broad jumps, vertical jumps, you'll be able to keep your gains. That's what guys understand. You don't need weights. You know, also a good thing for your body if you've been taking that toll for the last few years, especially with how long the GFL season is and the off season is short. It's actually not bad to have some now bodyweight workouts. You work time under tension now. It's all has to do with concentric eccentric load, and you're gonna get more out of it, you know. And also, to be honest, that's the other thing, like nutrition. If you're eating well, because this thing, like, how do you get fat? Well, you're just eating, not working out. That's what's happening over here on my side. It's very tough.
Yeah. Well, you're coaching right now, and you have a mustache, so you know.
It's horrible now. Like, it's just the weight gain's inevitable. You know, I look at like the stories from like Chris Forsythe, your quarterback. He's out here making these delicious 5-star meals at his house. I'm like, what is happening? It's like a cookout every day over there. You know?
Yeah. Man, on my first camp at UTEP, we had like 4 meals a day. So after like 4 or 5 days, I was really getting fat, and I was like, damn it, I have to at least skip the midnight meal, you know. So
American food.
It happens fast.
American food makes you, makes you big. But talking about, for say, when you're looking on a quarterback, you're the offense coordinator, you're scouting a quarterback to bring him to now European football. What are you looking on? How you scout, what kind of personality, football-wise, everything?
I love that question. So on the AFCA convention, I had a conversation with some quarterback guys. Steve Calhoun, Armed and Dangerous, was there, and we were talking about what are the top 3 things you look at in a quarterback. And like, there's so many things you can mention. And one guy said, well, of course he should throw accurate. Like, sure, we all agree you would like an accurate thrower, but you still can throw an accurate interception, right? So that's why decision-making is, to me, the number 1 thing. So that's pretty bad to really scout. Like, sure, in a highlight tape, you should only see the good throws. So before I scout a quarterback, I would love to see a whole game so I can get an idea. I can watch the concept, what they were running, and maybe get an idea what his mind was, like his mindset was. So obviously, the throwing part he should be a good thrower. And I'm not saying he has to have like the laser arm or needs to throw a 70, 80-yard bomb, but he should be a good thrower with good velocity behind the ball and make any kind of throws, like the comeback, then the vertical route, but also complete a bubble, not too hard, but in a good velocity throw. So that's, of course, the number 1 thing I look at. How is he throwing the football? Then depending on what is your system, if you want to be an option kind of system, zone read guy, well, you need a runner. I like my quarterbacks to be a pocket passer, but be as well able to run the football. That's my thinking, what I would like to have. I love the quarterback run game. I implement that, but I don't want it to be my main part of the offense because there's a reason why he's the quarterback. He should throw. So now if he gets hurt, how good is your backup? So that's my number 1 criteria. If you have now 2, 3 guys that are all the same, or you just want to build like an offense around it, great. But with Chris, we are in the situation that he's an amazing runner. So that's very good. We also have an American quarterback. He was with Würzburg last year, I believe. Terrence is his name. And he was here now with us during the off season. So that's really good. He's also a very athletic guy. Enjoyed working with him. So I know with these 2 guys, I have 2 quarterbacks that are athletic. And I also think, I mean, don't put me now on my pistol on my head, but during a game, how often does a quarterback scramble? Like 5, 6 times, usually if it's a regular game. So now if you're a run quarterback team and he scrambles like the 4 or 5 times, that number goes up really quick. So I just try to train like a pocket passer, and then when he takes off and makes some yardage, I'm happy. But of course, I love a speed option here. I love a quarterback ISO, quarterback draw. That are things I would love to see in a quarterback to be able to do it. So that being said, of course, I like to look at his stats. Did he start every game? Because that teaches me some toughness and that he has a good health, basically. Of course, stuff can happen all the time. But then when I talk to him, I just want a good guy. You know, I don't want an ego-driven person. Like, everybody has ego because we all want to be the best in what we do. That's why we participate in sports as well. But if I feel like he's an ego guy with little comments like, when I ask him, hey, why did you make that throw? Or what was your worst game and why? And he blames other people, I'm probably not going to try to bring him over.
Yeah,
like what Urban Meyer says in his book, BCD, blame, complain, defend. I don't want a guy that blames somebody or something. I don't want a guy that complains about shit. And I don't want a guy when I tell him, hey, you should have thrown it there. And then it's like defending himself. Just, I don't ask questions if I coach you, and it's not criticizing, it's coaching. So accept it and let's make the best out of it. If something is unclear, then ask me later. So that's kind of like what I try to get out. So,
and you can't, because in Europe is also some different philosophies, like you're looking also about schools, Division 2, Division 3, Division 1 quarterback. Is it for you important is he played outside of the States before? How is that for you?
I think it would be great if he had already experience, because then he, especially kids coming from a D1 program, you know, there's nobody telling you when to get up in the morning, how you have to lift your weights or how to brush your teeth, or like you will not get just free food everywhere. You might have to cook on your own. I'm not saying everybody's spoiled like that, but what I've seen there, some kids are pretty spoiled.
Yeah.
And there might not be 30, 50,000 viewers in the stands. There might be 500 to 1,000, or I don't know, maybe 2,000 in bigger stadiums, or Frankfurt, Schwäbisch Hall, I think, like Braunschweig. But they just have to understand that they become a leader here. So you're not just one of the guys anymore, you are the guy. And it doesn't matter if you're a quarterback, if you're the import linebacker, you're the guy. Everybody will look up to you, what you're doing. So if you act like a complaining little whatever, that's a problem. So step it up. And that's kind of like the message I want to get across. And so I really don't care where they're from. In Japan, it's big time that they have big time schools. Our offense line guy, Ian Parks, was with the Eagles in practice camp. So that was big time. Our safety, Max Look, is a Division 3 guy from Pacific University, who is, in my opinion, a guy who could have played D1 as well, but because he was D3, he did not get like the same attention and everything. And that's super sad, because he's a good player, smart guy, made it into the all X1 area league team and did not get the respect for that, which I think is pretty sad. So I would take this guy before any other guy, because I know him, I know how he works, and I know what he can do.
100%, because it ties in, and this is the biggest thing that, and I even say, I mean, not only in the States, but it's huge out here in Europe. Coaches overlook the intangibles. Like for me, and I even, you know, when I went to the opposite side of the ball, I asked you some questions like, what do you ask when you interview quarterbacks? And I kind of took that and then made my own little version of it. But I want to see the intangibles. Like you said, like, is he blaming other people? I want to know what is the big adversity he's faced in his life. I don't care about football. There's a reason why we're scouting you. I've seen the tape. You can play. You know, I'm going to talk to your coaches. I'm going to talk to your OC back in college. I'm going to talk to the header. If I know any players, like if you played in Europe, I'm going to talk to everybody. Because a lot of teams don't do that. And we talked to Holly about even yesterday. I was like, a lot of teams, they don't do their homework. I'm like, I want to know the off-field stuff. And to be honest, like, if it's something little where you got caught maybe pot smoking one time, I'm not going to give you crap. That's not a knock on me. I'll probably see what was the situation, what happened. Do we have to kind of, is that going to be an issue? You know, like at the end of the day, like if you're doing something like that behind closed doors, I better not know. You better pass that P test if it comes around.
I don't want to know that shit.
You better pass that P test. I don't want to be surprised. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's the intangibles for me, because I want to know, are you a leader? I do not want a quarterback. And it's the thing, like you kind of said, they are going to look at you as being that guy because you have an A. What I also emphasize to my offense, let's say, he does not wear a Superman cape. Yeah. And I learned that from Jordan Newman when recruiting my guys, and also with my offense. I'm like, just because we got a really good player who could technically carry the whole load on his shoulders, he could do it all, like my guy last year in Virginia from Auburn. But I want you guys to play better. You know? So if he is a little vocal, that's fine. You know, I don't expect him to be like a leader and you have to take the reins, because this is the thing, right? We overlook this, especially in Europe. People don't really look at this. It's like you can't expect a kid, doesn't matter what program he's at, coming from the States and say, oh, you have to run the show just because you're paid. That's too much pressure. You have to allow him to what? Find himself, be comfortable, you know?
Yes.
Then if he wants to, he does that. It's like us, it's like even us when they bring us as coaches into a program. You can't expect us from day one to walk into a situation and you run practice now.
Yeah.
Or as a head coach,
Yeah.
for example. It's not the right way to do it. Like I had that in Gdynia, and it's going to be a whirlwind day one because you don't have time to acclimate, see how the guys are. You just got to run the shit. You can't expect every single introvert, especially QB. You can't expect him to run the shit from day one. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a guy
That's
that can do it, but I couldn't do that for myself as an OC. I want him to find himself and trust the rest of the guys, team building, all that.
Yeah. And like also for them, I think that's something that we might don't understand, or maybe coaches that don't know the process in the US, that like these guys come from an environment where football is everything. Every freaking neighbor knows football. Like not everyone, but most of the people. And now they come to a program where you practice 2 or 3 times a week. They're not used to not everybody being at practice. They're not used to like that their practice gear gets washed and dried for them. So if they fresh out of college, there's a lot of things they have to get used to as well. So there's a lot into it from the perspective, right? Both sides. So I think we need to make sure they know that, but exactly what you said, make them aware of that you will be the leader in this thing. And quarterback wise, I just love to tell my QBs, just make a decision. So like Bill Purcell said, it's better to decide wrongly than weakly, because if you decide weak, you will be wrong anyways, or more likely. So what I mean by that is like, and as a quarterback myself, I made some throws that I never should have made because I was not sure. So I decided it half-ass, kind of like, I was like, and then I threw it, and then most of the time it ended up not good. So one game I had freaking 5 picks, and I think 3 Christoph Wiener caught them. So that was one of my worst games ever, and I was totally out. But yeah, thanks Reno for that one. But make a decision and go with it. If it's wrong, we will figure it out. But be a guy that steps up for what you do. Be accountable and don't BCD your way out of shit. So yeah, I hope that answers the quarterback question.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else, Coach Mele? Or not, we want to hit to the NFL.
Well, no, I was going to tie that in. I know Sebastian, he's so this is the thing, right? You got a defensive guy right here with Coach Sebastian.
Yeah.
But he loves quarterbacks. And from what you said, you're a guru, right?
I like to talk about the quarterback topic, of course, about NFL and college, all that stuff, because I think this year in the NFL can be the biggest quarterback change since 10 years. We're having like 11 teams with new or different starting quarterbacks. 11 teams with new. I think 2 years ago we had this new head coaches circle.
Yeah.
Now we're having new quarterbacks, and I like to talk you my list, my thinking, and then we coming up. Of course, we have Tom Brady go to the Bucs, Phillip Rivers to the Colts. For me, one of the best quarterbacks, if he not get injured, Teddy Bridgewater to the Carolina Panthers. Right. He has getting injured, but he is a great guy. Case Keenum to the Browns. I mean, they have shit Baker Mayfield. Now they have shit Case Keenum. Browns. One of the best guys, Marius Mariota, and I'm telling you guys, he will be a starter because we all know Gruden hates Carr. Marius Mariota will start for the Raiders. What the New England Patriots doing? They're getting Brian Hoyer back. Is he just a backup? He knows the system. We don't know. And Nick Foles to the Bears. I think so. He will be a starter without any question. So now we have free agency. Joe Flacco, Newman, Winston, and I put
who is Newman?
Newton.
You mean Newton, right?
I was like, who's Newman? I'm like,
is Jordan Newman making his comeback as a quarterback?
I was about to say, I'm like, is that Terrence Newman, Cowboys?
No.
That's breaking news, man. Breaking news here. So.
And of course we get Winston, and I also put Borders on the list, but he's all this are 4 guys free agent. And I don't understand why everyone is Hill, the quarterback from the New Orleans Saints / right receiver, tight end, DB, defense end holder. I'm pissed off because
defense holder.
Hey, let's talk. Hey, Drew Brees get injured. Bridgewater stepped up, win the games. Hill run the ball in the end zone from the 5-yard line 2 times, and everyone talks about he should replace Drew Brees. Are you serious out there?
Wow.
I don't know. And then teams without a quarterback: Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, the Chargers, the Jaguars, and now we come to the draft, the Bengals. Andy Dalton, Bengals first overall, whoever I draft, still Andy Dalton as a backup. I think he will move. What comes in, I think the best quarterback in the draft is Justin Herbert from Oregon.
No.
He's inconsistent. He is over a long time. He's an NFL quarterback.
No, he's not.
He's pocket passer.
It doesn't. Intangibles. He's not a leader. He's like Mariota. He sits in the corner of the locker room. He's too quiet. He's a leader, a vocal guy.
I go with Herbert.
I feel like you guys had a long fight about that topic before. Like you're really emotional about that.
On number 2, Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma. I think he's a great quarterback.
You're insane.
He's a good quarterback. On number 3, I go with LSU. Oh, it hurts in my heart. LSU guy. We call him Joe. He don't deserve to have the whole name. And on number 4. Nobody talks about him, but I have to research yesterday. He is draft eligible. Kelly Bryant from Mizzou, and everyone forgot he was bringing up Clemson a big time. That he transferred to Mizzou. I think he's good. And a 5, Tua, but I think Tua with his injury, I don't know if NFL people like that. So that is my top 5 quarterbacks, and please, everyone in the comment.
He's about to get torched.
Post your 5 quarterbacks. I don't know about you guys. How you see the draft?
God.
Who's going on?
I mean, first of all, I think you're pretty brave on just throwing it out there. So if you get ripped, I'm not participating. I'm just here. I mean, okay, fair enough. I did not watch too much NFL and college football last season. So just the naked truth. But like things like that, Tom Brady is going away from his team where he's been 20 years and half of his time he has been in Super Bowls, is to me like the same situation with the 49ers letting Joe Montana go back then, so I mean, I'm pretty sure there are reasons, because that's the one thing I admire about the Patriots organization. They just seems to make the decisions in the best interest for them. Well, and you can't deny it since they have been in Super Bowls of the half of the last couple of years. So, but that being said, I don't know. I still think he can compete on a very high level. And I felt like since the quarterback guys like Lamar Jackson were dominating the league with their playing style, maybe that's somebody the Patriots are looking for right now who can also catch or get some first downs with his legs. Because we know, as out of a defense perspective, that freaking quarterback scramble is just annoying as shit. Like you make a good coverage, you might even do a good job in containing, he breaks loose and gets a first down or extends the play. So maybe that's something they want to implement a little bit more. That was my thinking.
I think the Patriots trading up to getting the quarterback you talk fits perfectly Jalen Hurts from Oklahoma.
That's what I would...
Way back in the draft. They're way back. I mean, they need to, put Edelman out there to trade on number 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I can definitely see them picking up, because of the thing, right? This is now a new age in the NFL, and the new hot quarterback is a mobile type of guy, dynamic guy. They're now looking at that Michael Vick prototype from back in the day. That's now what teams are looking at, because they're not asking for a true guy who can run, but like you're kind of talking about, it's like you want a guy, if shit happens, can you escape pressure? Can you make something happen? Because at the end of the day, like it may not end up being the way that you called it and you want it to be ran, but hey, we get 10 yards, I'm taking it. You know?
I take it.
Hey, great creativity, you made it work, elusiveness. And that's kind of the thing. In my opinion, not that I know if they're going to do it, I think it would be in their best interest to trade up or pick up a guy like Newton. The only issue is he's been injury riddled, so I don't know how he goes into it and all that.
And I just wonder, you get Bridgewater and you let Newton go, so both are mobile guys. So I'm pretty sure there were some things behind the scenes that you never get to know, right? So
and that's the big thing you look at in the draft, because it's like kind of you're talking about on Herbert, and I mean he has all the tangibles, right? But what do scouts look at? And they make this a number one priority. It doesn't matter how good they are. It's all the stuff that goes in behind the scenes, the intangibles, like the Wonderlic, right? When you're going through player interviews, because this is a thing, right? And that's the whole talk on Justin Herbert, why he's not ranked higher. He's not a leader in the locker room. He's not a leader. And this is the thing. You can do it in college. You could do it in high school, right? And in high school, he was injured, broke his femur, came back, did a decent career. Don't get me wrong. So he is a fighter in terms of that. But in the NFL, you need a guy that you don't need to be a rah-rah guy, but you have to be vocal. You need to be a leader. He's not that guy. And how do you expect a guy like that to be successful in the NFL? Are you going to put that leadership quality on an offensive lineman or running back to lead your offense, or do you need your quarterback in a critical situation to basically get your guys going? That's the one thing. He has a tangible, but he's not a leader. He's the guy that sits in the locker room and everybody says that in a corner and he's quiet. But I don't want that as my quarterback. I'm sorry.
You have to say Herbert plays at Oregon in 4 years for 3 different head coaches.
Who cares?
I mean,
he can't talk.
That don't make it easier. Otherwise, the favorite, known for steals in the draft, they're taking a sleeper. I call it a sleeper, like Jordan Love from Utah State.
I like him.
Or bringing the next Tom Brady, James Morgan, FIU, like a guy nobody has on the list. Or Jake Luton from Oregon State. I talked with him to get him over here to Europe, and he says, no, my last year worked out pretty well for Oregon State. I will stay for the draft. Is he a guy who probably says, I don't know, is a guy who can surprise everyone, because we know all whatever Belichick is touching on it turns into gold so far. So
that's what I meant. Like, they just make good decisions. Like, and if you just think, if you just think about how many different players the Patriots had in these past 2 decades, and they were able to compete every freaking year, that's crazy. Like, the receiver core, like, I don't know, I've been 2 times where Randy Moss was in there. Back in the days, Deion Branch. I think Deion Branch was his name. And now, of course, with Edelman and Amendola, like two little guys, but balling out right there. I just love what they do there. Or Wes Welker before, like, So I'm pretty sure they will find.
Wes Welker opened up the door for all the Edelmans and Amendola. He was the first one who takes a concussion before a paycheck. He runs in the middle and gets killed. But would you say the Bengals stay first overall with a quarterback, or they were drafted away?
I would say they get with a QB. That's what I think they will.
Yeah. But what happened with Andy? You think Andy Dalton? Is it a situation like the Chiefs, Mahomes, Alex Smith, 1 year learning? Or you think that he will? Is Andy Dalton a guy like it? If Andy Dalton get a call from the Patriots, why not?
Well, I think everybody would follow that. But if you like, that's the biggest question, right? Do you throw in your rookie quarterback to get him playing time, but maybe make him like banged up mentally because he might suck? But like, if you think about Dan Marino, who got thrown in from the get-go, like, and Peyton Manning as well, and Peyton Manning is still waiting for a rookie quarterback to break his interception record, right? But they both turned out to be one of the best quarterbacks ever. So I think it's good to have a veteran quarterback. Like Andy Dalton is clearly a great quarterback and has a lot of experience, and get a rookie in there and then maybe make it a competition and like really handle it business-wise, and just, hey, you were our starter the last years, but well, it's a business. So
Okay.
How tough are you mentally? Like these little things, you know. And
100%, because at the next level, it's not just going to be handed to you, right? You're going to face some adversity. And to be honest,
exactly.
it's also good to, like we kind of talk about, bring him in. We don't have high expectations from day one. We expect you to show up to work, get better, especially now you're dealing with defenses that are more dynamic, more complex at the next level. They're faster. That's the biggest thing, right? I mean, for the most part, teams look at what? Number one thing, the transition from college to NFL is, do you have a quick release? Can you get the ball out quick? Right? That's kind of the number one thing aspect of it. Another aspect is, can you read defenses? Like for Dak, you know, that was the big thing not going to year 2, because he wasn't the best at reading defenses, and he had to pick it up because they already knew what he brought to the table after year 1. They're like, okay, he's more dynamic. He's basically like a big fullback at quarterback, has that little bit of size to him so he can take the punishment when he runs. But now teams are going to challenge you because DCs know what you can and cannot do. So it's like if they do go with Burrow, because that's what basically everybody's talking about. You know, everybody's tied up with Burrow because of the whole Tua injury situation. If Tua hadn't gotten injured, he would be going number 1 off the bat. But, you know, if they're looking at bringing in Burrow, that gives him a great opportunity now to sit there, learn, get better, and then slowly get more experience now at the NFL level. Because I mean, that kind of like we're talking about, I wouldn't feel comfortable throwing a guy in under the fire unless we had pieces around him, unless his whole line is legit. We got a really good running back, and we got at least 2 dogs at receivers. If we don't have talent and you throw him in day 1, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough.
And he just had a good year at LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, he had an outstanding year, but just one.
And there's still a lot of questions with him, because it's a thing, right? Not that his arm strength is in question, but it's still kind of like that's waiting to be confirmed, because this is a thing. He didn't have burners, like really fast receivers at LSU. They had decent speed, okay? And then like was it Peterson, whatever his name is, tested decently at the combine. But for the most part, you saw him lob balls up in the air, and he had jumpers for receivers. They made shit happen, right?
Yeah.
He's saying like he doesn't have the arm strength, but there's still some things to be confirmed with him. Is he a great player? Oh, hell yeah. I mean, he had an amazing year.
Yeah. I was sitting in the GA office at UTEP with scouts coming in while I was doing my breakdown stuff. And then I was talking to them for a little bit, like when they scouted Will Hernandez, who is now with the Giants, or Nick Needham, who's corner for the Dolphins. And I just kind of like asked them things, what they're looking at specifically, you know. And they were just also looking at what's happening in a play. Let's say he throw the ball, like on the defense standpoint, what is he doing when the ball goes the other way? Is he slacking off, or is he hustling? So I can imagine that they go back to his games and just see what is he doing, like maybe after a bad play, did he try to, after an interception? And I remember that one play that I saw where he got knocked the shit out after he tried to make the tackle after I pick, I think. But then he came back and won that game because his mindset was like, well, I got the shit kicked out of me, but I got back on my feet and finished it strong. So I think that are things that can give him the edge, especially in the eyes of coaches that want to see how are you mentally, and not just like look at how many percentage completion or like, you know, how many conversions you have on third down and stuff, which is all important. So
it brings in a lot.
I think Joe Burrow will go up.
Yeah. You think Tua will get a shot at number 2? You think he's the second guy off the board, even though everybody – this is the thing, right? Everybody was all about him, and I still love him. I would give him a shot. But everybody was all about him, the whole country, literally the whole world, and then he got hurt, and everybody's like, oh, he's done. It's like, well, that kid is a legit player at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I agree.
Really, really good. He's a leader. He has fought through adversity. You know, he put what hurts a starting job and didn't give it back. Yeah. Basically, he had to be carried off the field to give him a shot that second year when Herbert was a backup. Or not Herbert, sorry, Hurts. But he has all the tangibles as a quarterback. Yeah. Well, like he has a strong arm. He has really good precision, you know. And this is the thing. He is what? He's a dog at the quarterback. Yeah. You need that.
Here's my generally thought about the draft. I love it. And there's so much hype out there. And I just want to call out Nick Needham right now, the corner for the Dolphins, who was outstanding at UTEP for several years, had the most pass breakups, had a draft invite, did not get drafted, made it still into the roster of the Dolphins, and during the year became the starting corner for the Miami Dolphins. But nobody was like, hey, I really like what he did. Maybe because we had a shitty record at UTEP, but he was not really on the radar. Like, and now he became the starter of the Dolphins and made amazing plays. So this is why I'm very careful when I talk about the draft, because you have like these guys that had the amazing numbers, but who knows? Maybe there's another Tom Brady waiting in the 6th round with the 199th pick, and like I'm just excited about that. But I agree, like with these top dogs, I think they have the tools to play, but what is the grit that they really have to compete against the best of the best? Like, I mean, I just can't imagine how it must be if you play against like top dogs like Troy Polamalu, Ray Lewis, you know, like these kind of guys. So what are you made of right now?
Right.
Are you now a Peyton Manning guy that steps it up, a Tom Brady guy that steps it up? Or, yeah, are you not?
You think with all these great quarterbacks in the draft, whoever you want to count, number 1, number 2, you think the free agents have a chance? Flacco, Winston, Borders, will you see these guys back, or is just there's so many young talent, let's take with them?
I'm pretty sure that there's a balance. I think if you draft a rookie quarterback, it's good to also have like a veteran guy, like we discussed before. But I feel like Cam Newton will be on fire because he might have something to prove. If you're the number 1 pick from your team and they let you go after a couple of years, it's kind of like, thank you, but bye. So I just know that I would.
Newton. Which team you think? I mean, his head coach is going to Washington, and they don't pick him up. The guy who best, not even him, pick him up.
Tells you something, huh? Maybe whatever happens.
What is your favorite NFL team?
So I grew up as a 49er fan.
I like
yeah. But because I think I just love the Bill Walsh area because he just revolutionized the game. I love that they had Joe Montana, pocket passer, then Steve Young, the scrambling guy, came in. I'm a huge Bill Belichick fan. I just love what he creates there every year. And now, who is it? Is it Belichick? Is it Brady? I just say it's the combination. It's never one person. It's never one thing. It's the combination. Maybe the freaking wide receiver coach is just a genius. You know, who knows? So if you ask me what is my favorite team, I mean, I love the Patriots with Brady and Belichick. I still love Belichick. So, damn it, I think I just go with the 49ers. Go Mark Nzocha.
That's great.
You know, fun fact, Mark Nzocha was my 3rd string quarterback with the Bavarian Warriors in 2006. And awesome. I don't know, I have nothing to do that he's now an NFL linebacker. Maybe I coached him out of the quarterback position, so I would have something to do with it. But it's just funny.
Did you cut him?
What's that?
Did you cut him, or you made the final cut?
No, we brought him to Berlin.
Okay. Doing the speech like look for something.
Of course not. I saw his raw talent. I knew that he's gonna play for.
I saw it from the beginning.
Doing the speech like look for something else in your life to make money.
Yeah.
With. No.
What's that? Sorry.
Speech of do something else. Football is not work out for you, or.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to do with my life.
No.
I love coaching, so that's why I'm trying to do the yoga stuff and everything, so I'll get rolling there too.
Right. So, I mean, I know you're probably 100%. You're probably like me. You're not a plan guy. But what are you thinking about longevity? Are you're just going to see where the wind takes you? You're going to stay out here in Europe, maybe make the jump back to the States or something? Or what are you possibly thinking right now? Or you're not really thinking?
That's a great question. When I left Germany, I was so driven. Like, my dream is to become a pro coach, and I never thought that my dream come true, become a pro coach in Japan. I always thought it's gonna end up with an NFL logo on my chest. And this is what I want to say to all these guys that try to make it there, coming from Europe. It's such a harsh business. Like, every American coach knows it. Hire and fire is real shit. Like, I've talked to coaches that have been moving at least 10 times with their families all over the country. You can get fired any given moment. You piss off the wrong guy, you get fired. You make one stupid move, you get fired. Like, you never know. It's a beautiful profession. Coaching football 24/7 is amazing. I loved it. I'm thankful. But when you get fired, it sucks. Especially the visa situation is tough. Sebastian, you know that really well. Like, getting a visa in the US as a European guy is freaking horrible, you know.
Yeah.
So I think chase whatever you want to chase, but I found my peace because to me, it was successful, my mission, going to the US, chasing my dream. So that was good, and I'm thankful for that. So I'm trying to see where the wind gets me. If I still apply for jobs, so I still send out letters. And since
management's not listening to this,
the management. No, like I'm that honest about things. Yeah. I love it here right now. I love it with the Dukes. That's great. However, if I would get the chance to still success my dream, becoming a part of an NFL organization, that's what I would do. So I just enjoy what I'm doing, where I am right now. I love it. I have great guys with the Dukes to work with. It's a lot of fun. However, I just loved, as an example, the structure in Japan. And obviously in the US, it's a different animal as well. But I did not like this hire and fire thing in the US. It's really a tough-ass business. And sure, you can take it and you can go through it, you can push through it. But if it's always a struggle and you're not one of the top dogs that makes like that beautiful amount of money, it's tough. As a GA, I got my scholarship, and on top of that, I had like a stipend of 1,100. That's it. So then I had rent $400. I had a car, I had a cell phone, but there's not a lot of money that you have left over. I still love it, would do it again. But yeah, it's just like, what do you want? And right now, I just enjoy being back home with my family. You know, that was one of the main reasons why I just said I'm not doing a second year in Japan, because now it's getting deep. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? So happy to be here at the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's decisions has to make, and you can turn the time back.
Yeah,
that's what it is. So, and like you say, I mean, I saw an interview from Bruce Arian once. He was like super serious in a kind of funny way. Like, I win the Super Bowl with the Steelers getting fired. I win the Super Bowl with the Colts getting fired.
Yes.
I win the Super Bowl with this getting fired here, fired there. It is a part of the business. It is.
Yeah.
That's why I say, I mean, we all love this pressure and we all hate this pressure, you know?
Yeah.
Having a normal job, going out, and, you know, I can do here everything. I sit in this office for the next 40 years. Or, you know, this Saturday, I don't know, we are 0-3, the job is on the line. This is the pressure what makes me also alive. Like, I remember when I go with the cheap run Bobcats to the Czech Bowl, I was like drinking energy drinks, not sleeping. I was so hyped. I was like, because the expectation was winning, I was like, damn, we have to get it done. I was sitting at 3 o'clock at night on my desk. I was like, oh shit, that's a heart attack.
It's like, oh, this is a heart attack.
I was like, that's what I always say when friends call me, like, hey, you want to come home, you want to get a safe job. I was like, oh, I would jump off the bridge after a week. Yeah. I need this pressure, and I mean, working with the guys and all the kids and all the players together, it's great. But yeah,
beautiful.
It's a beautiful journey. I mean, and Arian said it too. Is like, if you want to coach ball, if you want to do it for life, then you better put your house on wheels.
Put your house on wheels.
To stay somewhere long term, like, was it Shuan and Lee were there for 10 years for Europe?
Yeah.
I mean, in the States, you kind of see more coaches being there more long termish. I mean, but Europe, where it's a year-to-year business, or not even year-to-year. It's what, 8 months? Let's say GFL, 8-9 months, right? Something like that. Let's say.
Crazy. Start in January. Yeah.
There is no long term. So when everybody asks, "Oh, why are you leaving, or why are you going to this team?" Well, it's like it's up to this team to bring me back. Kind of like what you said, right? You're always open to the next potential job because this is a paycheck you're putting on the table. If you can't commit as a program, and this is what Coach Parker told me, go to teams that want to keep you long term. If they can't pick it up, don't even touch that interview, because you want to be with a team that's going to try to keep you. And like we talk about, right? Everybody says they want to coach ball here in Europe, and this and that. People don't understand, and people always ask, well, why don't you get enough sleep? You coach football, like you work all day. It's like the pressure. People don't understand. There is pressure.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there, literally, like you're not sleeping the night before a semifinal game in Wrocław because you're like, this game could go two ways, and we're banged up. On receiver tore his hamstring. He's a game time decision. He's still trying to gut it out, and you got a lackluster roster. You tell me if you can sleep.
Yeah.
and management's talking about, potentially bringing you back next year because they're expecting a championship right now this weekend. And people don't understand. It's like, the quality of life is better in Europe for coaches per se.
Yeah.
But these programs don't commit to you long term. And if you can't commit to you long term, how do you expect us to kind of like get our sleep? Because it's a thing, right? And there are coaches out there that probably don't give a crap, and it's kind of like whatever. The coaches that give a crap, and I've been there too, when I'm drinking like 4 or 5 energy drinks. You saw me doing with the Ausfall too.
Yeah.
It's day 3 Mittwoch on a Wednesday, and you're like, oh my God. But we got used
I'm already freaking exhausted.
Right? But it's the thing, right? During the season, even right now, for me, it's weird with the lockdown. It's like normally during this time, I'm getting maybe 3 hours of sleep. Even right now, like I can't sleep regularly because for us right now, it's like, and it's normal because we take our job seriously. We enjoy it. It's like a high, know? And that's like, I know the second it's the off season, it starts, maybe 2 weeks, I could take it. And then I'm kind of sitting there biting my finger, and I was like, I got to do something. You know what I mean?
Got too much time. Yeah.
You hate it, but you love it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, like if I think back about my first college football game, it was against Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield. So we fly there, police escort to the stadium. I'm super pumped. We score in the opening drive. I'm sitting in the press box. I'm like, yes, man, we upset Oklahoma. Well, we got our ass kicked. We land back in El Paso, I think around 11 at night. Hustle to the office, finish like that little play-by-play sheet that the offense coordinator wants from me. I finished that like about at 1, went back home, had like 4 hours of sleep, had to get back to the office, finish the breakdown for the next opponent because that had to be done Sundays by noon. So of course there's always that one game that your next opponent plays on the same day like you that you have to do. And that's nothing special. Everybody is doing that. Every GA is going through that. So what people that don't coach American football, especially in Europe, don't get, yes, we might not have the structure like this and this, but we take it serious. So we do things, but we don't get that paycheck. And
that's what I tell all the players when they're coming, like, oh, coach, is it a problem? I don't make the away game. You're my freaking starting defense end. You think, I'm telling you the whole week what the game plan is. We're playing against Frank Rosa. 8 trick plays.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
And that's like, but I'm not yelling at them. I say, it's your decision. I have no time to discuss with you. You come to me. Yeah. You're not really asking me if it's a problem. You just want the piece of yourself. Like, no, okay, then I get the next one. But don't ask me if you're next week on the roster. So that's what it is. Because I tell them, there's a reason why I have never little things like a cell phone contract. Because they're running 24 months. I don't know if I have in 24 months. I still hear.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing.
Phone. I say, coach. I say, no, come, give me the next one. So that's what it is. What everyone has to understand. Because I also, like Coach said before, it's like, oh, in Europe is always this one team, one family. But I never heard of the 0-10 season. Oh, we still one family. You know. So, that's what it is. It's what it is. And I'm never mad with anyone. When the president comes to me, it don't work out. I say, hey, no worry. It's a job. If you feel it like that, I'm fine. I not talk bad about you, not bad about me, and we leave. But it is a job, and like
That's what it should be.
Yeah,
What it should be. Sit down, communicate, and yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I had it in Denmark. I recognized after after newspaper interview. Oh, Google Translator said I'm fired. That's
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm like, whoa, probably it is like that.
That happened?
It's one of the. I
Really?
don't touch that.
Oh, we're not touching it. I'm gonna start Googling.
I mean, getting fired sucks, man. I never forget, like, getting into the office of the sports director, like in December 2017. Ben Hammer, the other German J, was already sitting in there, and then it was our sports director, and I forgot his official position right now, but another guy, and he's standing there, and I come in, and we had the most awkward, random small talk ever about a neighbor's dog. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck is this about? So you just know something is up. Like,
I'm supposed to be doing breakdowns right now, and I'm talking about a dog.
Yeah, and then you're just sitting there, and then they close the door slowly, and you're like, fuck.
Oh shit, I'm getting fired.
But reading it in a newspaper in a different language is also pretty shitty, man.
I mean, and that's kind of the thing where, like, even right now with the meetings that we're having, I'm doing a lot of team building. Because when we start up, we're not going to have that time. So, like, and I love my guys, and you know me, Frank. Like, I'm a guy where I end up developing good relationships because I coach for a reason. I coach to change lives because my life was changed because I didn't have a dad. So my coaches were dads for me. And I know if I could change one player's life that year on the roster, I've done my job as a coach, right?
Yeah.
But this is the thing, right? Like, he's kind of talking about family and all that. Like, I'll always keep that. But at the end of the day, in the back of my mind, I know that this is a job and it is business. And at the end of the day, there's decisions to be made at some point. You know, like, if a team can't commit to you, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know,
and you had some situations there too.
That's why Parker's back in the States, for example, and he told me this too. He's like, he would have gladly stayed out here, but if a team would have said, we're paying you year round and maybe a little bit more money.
Yeah.
He's not asking for like the 3, 4, 5, 6,000 euro contracts a month that we're hearing about sometimes with top coaches out here and even players in Europe. Like, we're talking about maybe 2.
maybe.
Give me a little bit more than what somebody makes with a Ausbildung, right? Then I'm fine. But if you can't do that, like, how do you expect? Because people got bills to pay. You got literally, it's food for you to pay or to put on the table.
Yeah.
And people got to understand. It's like, how do you expect me to sit here, like you were saying about, why don't you stay at New York, right? For $300 a month. And it's like,
it's insane, man.
Who's going to feed me? How am I going to pay my non-existent phone contracts or my net $10 a month? I mean, now it's more, right? I mean, that adds up, you know. It's true. I mean, it's kind of thing where you have to look at it, because this is the thing. If it was anybody else in your shoes, they do the same thing.
Of course.
The same thing.
Of course. And that's what, like, gets me. Like, just saying, generally speaking, like, if you would not get your salary on the first of the month or whatever you get in a regular job, on your regular job, you would, like, freak the shit out. But here it's like, yeah, you have to understand, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, thank you. Because people don't understand really that coaching business yet, like it's in the US, like, different world. Japan, different world. And here it's like, of course, some do understand the value and everything, but it's brutal. It's brutal. Like, I have people that I know, friends, colleagues, whatever. They're like, so what are you doing with your life? I'm like, well, I'm coaching. I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing? I'm like, never mind. Let's just stop talking right here. It's okay.
I love this conversation. Yes.
Like, no, I coach football. Like, this is my job. Especially for us, where we've worked our way up from being players and assistants to get where we're at. Like, it is not easy.
I mean, I'm totally bashing right now against soccer coaches But like if I'm a soccer coach, I know there's strategy behind it, but like you have your practice, you have your 90-minute game, you analyze it, okay, great. But what do you do during the game? Like you can substitute 3 times, you can like make some calls, but as a football coach, as we know, we are analyzing everything, and you can make a different strategy every freaking play. And this is why it's so harsh for us coaches, because we're like, damn, if I choose that decision or that strategy and it totally went down the shitter, like, you know, where was my mistake in the preparation? Or what I loved about myself, like, oh, the running back from the team lined up outside or inside shoulder tackle instead of behind the guard. What does that mean? So you go back all these freaking games and look for something, and then you think you find something, and then you don't, and then it's like fucked up, and like I just wasted an hour of my life. So
now people think it's like it's easy, but like I mean, I sit there and I look at too, and I think sometimes I'm like, am I over preparing? But it's like it's part of the job. You're watching tape, and people don't understand like watching tape means like actually watching tape, analyze. I'm not sitting there watching highlights. That's also what some players understand. It's like we're not sitting here watching highlights. It's like you're trying to find tendencies.
Yeah.
And you're looking through, let's say, cut-ups of, for the most part, you're probably getting 300 to 500 plays, if that. That's a lot of freaking tape watching. And people understand that is consuming.
And since we do not have GAs that do the breakdown for us, we have to do the breakdown first. And that's something I got better in as well. I got way more better with my breakdowns being a GA.
That's the thing when you talk to American coaches that never been to Europe. They say, oh, I'm the offense coordinator, defense coordinator, head coach, whatever. I say, oh, you have an easy life with GAs doing everything. I was like, nope. I'm probably the offense coach this week because no one else has time. So try to coach D-line, linebacker, DBs, make a breakdown and all. It's a little things what people don't see sometimes. Don't want to fall to crying right now, but
no, but like I mean, 100%. If I could come day before a game, right? Like in Kiel, for example, I had to do Parker's breakdowns. Everything was already broken down by Thursday because he treated me like a GA. So for me, that was my GA. Like him and Coach Dish, because even Dish came straight from D1, right? He was used to having 3 little minions working for him.
Yeah.
You know, and now you're going to the situation where it's like a fight to get Mele on your side of the ball, like who's going to do your stuff, right? But anyhow, like I remember for offense, for the week before, let's say we're about to play Munich this week, we're playing Ingolstadt next week. Well, this Thursday, I already had all the breakdowns done of those 3 to whatever games that he needed, minimum 3. They were done because on Friday he would start on the breakdowns for the next week. We don't have that. Like for the most part, like you got to do that on your own. You know. Like literally,
that's the mess.
Everything on your own.
Yeah, you do it on your own, and that's the messed up thing because you're still game planning for, or you're still in preparation for that game on, let's say, Saturday. But you know, if you don't start the breakdown for the next opponent, you're gonna be late.
Exactly.
So it's brutal. And sure, you could use your American players more. That might be a solution. But at the same time, I don't want to put a lot of that stuff on their shoulders. But yeah. It's tough, man. That's why it's great to have GAs. So any GA candidates interested in the GA experience, send your applications, frankroser@gmail.com.
What are you offering? Benefits?
Yeah. I give you the exact game plan that I'm going to do.
I remember one thing that Jordan was trying to do to coerce me and Coach Zeller, who's now also the special teams coordinator in Hall. He'd say, hey, I want to keep you guys here long term. He's like, we'll give you a full-time job. I'd be like, all right, what are we talking about? And he's like, well, there's no pay. There's no insurance. It's just like you guys here. And we're like, yeah. You're like, I don't know what this means. Maybe we get a kebab like we did from Coach Newman after we won the German Bowl in Berlin at the train station. He bought us a kebab. You know, it was a good kebab. I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, you guys won that year, the German Bowl, right?
Yeah. And literally after the German Bowl, that night, we got a kebab. He bought us a kebab. It was delicious with Schafskäse.
We got free meals at UTEP once a day. That was awesome.
What'd you get? 1 meal?
1 meal a day for free at UTEP.
That's it?
Sometimes they made special. Yep, like. We had like for the GAs, we had a meal list where you could go to different restaurants and get one free meal a day. So
just one.
Yep, but there was cereal in the morning and a lot of bananas, so we got that. And after practice, I'm totally lying, we got a free Mexican wrap.
Yeah.
And since El Paso is right at the border, you know, we kind of like, I got to experience your culture, Mele. So that was pretty good.
I mean, it depends how good it was. If it was like a Mexican lady in like a broken down kitchen with beat up chairs, then it's probably good. Hey, I'm not gonna lie, those are the good places, the legit places.
I know.
Or like the Thai or Asian food, and you go to kind of hole in the wall places. Great food.
Yeah.
Great food.
Yeah.
Either it's good, or you get diarrhea and your stomach is messed up for like 3-4 days.
Thankfully for me, it was also the number one thing, so I was okay.
Yeah.
No, that was great. It was really great.
No, but we appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you guys.
Second episode, we had a lot of fun talking about your experience from out here, starting off as a player, basically seeing your coaching journey all the way to the States, and then Japan, and then back to Germany. Hopefully, we see you in let's say next 2 months.
It was fun. We hitting the 2.5 hours here. It was perfect.
Wow.
Was amazing. I hope you guys out there, you liked it. Please give some comments there. Topics you want to talk, maybe a guest you want to have. We try to make everything happen. Of course, Tom Brady is not available, but everyone
got the
else.
next best thing.
Yeah.
So,
if you guys want me again, just comment it below. I'm willing to talk again. So
we could definitely call you in with somebody. Actually, next week I'm gonna have Demi.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's back in Munich right now, lockdown, but he wanted to be home. So his coaches at URI, University of Rhode Island, they allowed him to come back, and they basically told me he's back like middle to end June. And Demi's like, "There's no way they're gonna let me fly back. It's gonna be travel ban." He's like, "There's no way I'm stuck."
Yeah, damn, man.
And then Friday we're supposed to have Nathaniel Robitaille.
Oh wow!
Number 86. Basically, what he calls himself the #1 wide receiver in all of Europe. He says he needs to be recognized as that. And then we'll have a guest. Essentially, it's supposed to be a 2-person show. I can't drop the name yet until it's confirmed, but yeah.
Cool.
And tomorrow we get the first player. Now we had 2 coaches. Tomorrow we get a guy who is probably known in Germany, Daniel Plalashovic from Czech Republic. He was wide receiver with the Stuttgart Scorpions, import wide receiver with the Ingolstadt Dukes, long time, multiple times Czech Bowl champion for the Prague Black Panthers, and he has his own gym built up as an American football gym with turf, with all the stuff everyone coach talks about. This is what we need, like college facilities, and he did it in Prague. I think this is a great thing to talk about him.
Wow.
He still is a player and already thinks about this direction. I think we have a lot of fun with him as well.
Didn't you? When did he play in Ingolstadt?
Oh, is it
2017.
That's what I asked.
I coached him.
He played for you, right?
Yep.
I remember him, and I'm thinking.
He did. Yeah.
I saw because he was number 17 as well.
Yeah, so
Number 17. Yes.
So that's good.
Yeah, I know, man. We're like this.
Yeah.
Like this. But anyhow, I mean, what if people have any tips about yoga getting started? You want them to contact you on your Instagram?
Yeah, please follow me on Instagram. Sooner or later, I will upload some great videos about how to do the crow and headstand. So I'm getting there. But I really would recommend it, like literally to players. Just make sure you take care of your body. And I'm not just saying train as hard as you. Like this is what I told the players at UTEP. Even if you want to play great, train hard. If you want to play long, well, do some yoga and have good nutrition. So I think that's very important. And the funniest thing about my yoga training was like when I had my final exam, I was like, okay, when I coach football, I'm high energy, I'm pushing people, and I'm get going here. So, but when you coach yoga, you cannot say, hey, let's go. Can we hustle? So especially I did yin yoga, which is the soft yoga. So I have to say, relax, be in the present moment. And, you know, I'm like, wow, is that even me talking here? So great. Love it. Learning and growing out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. I actually just got my mat finally. They finally delivered it after waiting.
Maybe we should
for it.
do some yoga
yoga
together, man.
Send me some yoga.
Yeah.
Flows. Okay.
The crow. I sent you that video, the crow. Well, you can wear your tiger Speedo that you love to wear at the Bavarian All-Star.
I never wore. That was you, actually. All right. Appreciate having you. And I'll talk
guys, thank you so much.
Hey.
Great that you do this, and appreciate it, and hope to see you guys very soon.
Yeah, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Let's go!